It's the fifth and final round of the 2021 Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series, the last 2-hour brawl before we crown a champion and a prize winner. At stake, a drive in Apex V2R's Track Prep Scion FRS and a whole lot of bragging rights. Today's event takes us to a home track for many Canadians in motorsport. A fitting name, then, is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, better known as Mosport. 120 minutes, over a dozen teams, all competing on this speedy classic road course built decades ago. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna tonight for the fifth and final round of the season. Finian, welcome aboard. And Mosport, one of our favorite tracks to watch and to race on. Gonna be a blast.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of different GT racing here. This track you typically don't associate with good GT racing, but this track always manages to put on a show. Some guys getting maybe a little bit too close to comfort to others, maybe some fenders beating against one another. Let's see if that is the case here for these guys in their final round of their season.
Having a look here at the track map for today's event, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Just about 3.9 kilometers around here. It all begins with a short run down the front straightaway into a 90-degree right-hander. Going to carry a lot of speed through their fourth gear for most of these cars. Then a slight climb up over the crest, down the hill through turn number 2. Consequences there on driver's right. We'll talk about that on the pace lap. Then down the hill into turn 3, slight uphill again towards turn 4, Finian. Then you drive off a cliff to turns 5A, 5B, and 5C, Moss Corner.
Yeah, you really have to make sure you get a good exit out of 5C, and then you fly down the back straightaway through turns 6 and 7, which aren't really turn, more just gentle crest down the straightaway. Then into turns 8, 9, and 10, a very much a rhythm section you have to get right. That can definitely make or break your lap. And we'll see some passing occur down there for guys that are brave enough.
Qualifying underway already. We'll head down there in just a moment. Of course, you're watching the last round of the 2021 Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series from Bowmanville, Ontario. Again, my name is Kyle Heyer with Finian DeCuna for today's event. We've got some other news to bring you in just a little bit, but first let's get down to the racetrack and cover qualifying for a couple minutes. SPI Racing with Gavin Sanders currently the top of the board in one of the very many Porsches out here today, Finian. And right now they're spread throughout the field, but in practice we saw them all pretty much bunched up together. Those 911 RSRs sounding good and looking fast. Entering through turn number 2 now and heading at the exit of turn 2, heading towards turn 3, Moss Corner, named after Sterling Moss, who suggested the turn be changed in 1961, and indeed it was. Here's Moss Corner right here, Finian, down the gears and into one of the tightest corners on the racetrack.
Yeah, and then heading onto this straightaway, and again, I mentioned time and time again, this straightaway is very important for these guys, especially if you're running in behind someone. Getting that slipstream to potentially make a pass down towards turn 8 is definitely going to be a prime passing opportunity for a lot of these guys.
So we mentioned the points and what's on the line here to win. Of course, the championship is not a raffle. You got to earn that. But the prizing is raffle-based. So everyone will have an equal opportunity, or at least an opportunity, to win the main prize. Now coming into the night, it's Grid Life RWB, who will not be here, who is leading the championship standings. Of course, they will not be eligible for the prize. VRS Satellite Racing Blue, however, is leading the championship of the teams that are here. SPI Racing, who is currently on provisional pole, is second. Then Apex V2R's 880 and 881. Apex V2R's 882 car is all the way down in 9th in points, but a notable driver joining tonight is Erica Hoffman, who is competing to run in Formula Women. Will have the opportunity to go out and try to win a chance to run to England for a full season in a McLaren GT4 car. So lots on the line for Erica Hoffman. She'll be sharing that car with Marc-Andre Seguin a little bit later tonight in that number 882.
Yeah, fantastic opportunity for her. Really happy to see her get the chance to really to see any sim racer get a chance to drive some real life machinery. It's awesome to see. So best of luck to her in that series. Also best of luck to her tonight. See if she can get that Porsche further up the standings.
So 12 minutes and 45 seconds left here in qualifying. And you'll note on the left-hand side of the screen the timing and scoring, swapping between team as well as driver. And we'll switch back to the drivers now. You'll see that Adam Crane running for VRS Satellite Racing Blue. They're the drivers at the top of the standings of the Canadian teams. Again, Grid Life RWB. RWB standing for red, white, and blue. They are an American team not eligible for the season prizes. Adam Crane and team, they have done extremely well in this Corvette C8R platform. Finian, it's a relatively new car. We've seen it be mighty successful in holding its own against some of the other more tried and true GTE platforms. But in particular, this Corvette has done really well on fuel mileage. It's done really well on balance. And this team hasn't made a lot of mistakes. It's been luck, internet connections, and things of the sort that have taken them out of the mix.
Yeah, I'm curious to see this Corvette again. We were talking about this majority of the cars here are Porsches here, but this Corvette has been pretty strong on up near the top. Currently sitting in second, was second in practice as well. See if in the remaining time, only a few hundredths off in qualifying. See if if they're able to get that Corvette starting. P1 here. They got about 11 minutes to do so.
Well, there's a handful of other makes in the field as well. We've got another one of those Chevrolets, Screeching Moose Motorsports. Good qualifying effort for them right now. That's Makina Dean, who's got that car qualified P4. Then Average J Racing with James Liebrecht behind the wheel in a Ferrari 488. And then there's one more Corvette down in 14th, but right before NSS Cookie Jar with Daniel Salmon is going to be 3 of the BMW M8 GTE cars. Finney, we have not seen these cars be mighty successful. Hard to tell if it's the teams or if it's the car that's been holding them back. There is Diego Zuccarelli in the number 12 Overtake Racing car, Peter Neely in Event Matrix, and LSM team with Federico Fernandez, who I believe will also have Sam joining him a little bit later as a co-driver. So as they head down the hill into turn 2 and 3 here, Finney, we again have not seen these BMWs be very strong, but at a track that's got a lot of straightaway and a lot of high-speed corners, I feel like this will be a good opportunity for that car to do well.
Yeah, I have to see. Practice is looking a similar story the rest of the season. Those BMWs near the back end of the grid, which isn't too many cars, only 14 tonight. I hope that we can see them potentially get lucky during the race, maybe get a few of them, and maybe even in the top 5. So I have to see. Again, qualifying still just underway, just about to get halfway through it, to see if they can find some pace to get those BMWs starting further up the order.
Have a look here at the weather information today. Air temp 78 degrees Fahrenheit, but how about the track temp 111 degrees Fahrenheit? That is pretty toasty, and Finney, this track has a tendency to get pretty low grip, especially in turn number 2. We're going to talk about this a whole lot, but running down the hill here, there's always the threat of dropping a tire off on driver's right, and once you hit that grass, you're going to slide until you hit that wall.
Yeah, we're on the older version of Mosport. I mean, now there's a significant amount of pavement down into turn 2, and to the point where you don't really have to worry about, going a little bit wide. It's like, okay, maybe you get a time penalty, maybe a little slap on the wrist from the officials for going wide. But here you have the grass. You go in the grass, you're going to go flying off into the wall, whether you like it or not. So there's a lot of chance for these guys to make mistakes. Even in turn 3 there, you can see these guys just on the ragged edge up towards the white line into the grass. So there's not a lot of runoff pavement for these guys, especially down at the Moss corner too. Not a lot of pavement for these guys to make a mistake, and if you do so, you're going to be definitely paying the price. If not in time, a wreck car.
Erica Hoffman, quickest lap for her in that Apex V2R 882 team car last time by, a 1:13.784. Gavin Sanders on the edge of going purple here as he starts his lap, still has a long way to go to complete it. As he heads down the hill following a trailing of BMWs, a new livery on board that car. Whoa, big slide out of turn number 2 and crash in qualifying. Easy to do, and up on top of the tire bundles. What a spectacular crash in qualifying.
Yeah, flashing lights, I'm not sure he's trying to flash lights show that he's okay or not, but yeah, that was a very violent wreck.
It just catches the grass again and then gets into the back of, I believe that's the number 5, the LSM team car. Federico Fernandez gets clobbered, and then they're going to hit this tire bundle, and watch Sanders climb up on top of this. Big moment there for the Porsche, and good thing you can just hit reset and go again, because that would be the end of your weekend in the real world.
Yeah, that's the last thing we want to do is lose some more cars, so they'll be able to roll back out there, see if they can get something done. Oh, almost out of caution.
No, that was me just clicking the wrong button. In real life, that would be a caution for a car upside down on the tire bundle. There is Emmett Savage getting held up again by the 5 car. Man, this Federico Fernandez cannot get out of the way of the Apex V2R team cars. As Emmett Savage rolls around, this has been, of the 3, the 880 is performing the best, currently 4th in the standings, 3rd if you don't include Grid Life RWB. And Savage has been incredibly consistent this season. And paired with his teammate, they have done very, very well. They haven't scored less than 65 points all season long, although they would like to do a little bit better, I'm sure, and grab themselves a victory here at season's end. Looking around to see if anybody's going quicker, Dan Morad at the exit of turn 1 is dead even with his pace right now down the hill. We got some nice new tools that allow us to kind of see who's running purple and who's running green. And right now, Daniel Morad, the number 11 VRS Satellite Racing blue car, trying to go a little bit quicker than his teammate, Adam Crane.
Yeah, we'll see if he's going to be able to complete that. It's a tough thing. You start the lap, you can feel it's faster, but, you don't nail the second half of the lap, it's going to be all for naught. Ooh, throws it very sideways, a bit of a lockup down into Moss corner as well. Let's see if that might have cost him or if that might have helped him as he just chucked it down into there.
Remember that these cars have traction control, but no anti-lock brakes. So you got to be nice to your brakes to make sure that you can get that car woed on down. Morad climbs up the hill, got to beat a 113, 165. He's a 10th down on beating that lap right now, and 2/10 as he heads into turn number 8. So much commitment required for this corner, Finney. You just got to throw the car in, balance it right on the edge of the curbing, and we'll see if Morad can go a little bit quicker than his teammate as he rounds the final corner, turn number 11.
And here he comes across the line. Will it be enough? He does a 113.3.
No.
And not going to be enough.
Not quicker. Gavin Sanders is up half a second right now as we exit turn number 5C and heads up the back straightaway. And 0.7 of a second up on his lap right now, which would be a pretty phenomenal lap time if he can round it out.
And carrying speed through turn 8 here. This is a fairly tricky corner to get right because you can apex it late, you can apex a little bit early. Typically you want to aim for it later, but it's so hard to kind of spot your exits because the corner begins much before, then through turns 9 and 10 and open up on the grass.
Oh, we got it.
Might have been off track, and no, looks like a count, a sub 13, and up on pole for Sanders.
Yeah, he was on pole before, but he just went way quicker. That is a 112.997. Pretty sizable gain for Gavin Sanders. Emmett Savage is also going purple for his lap right now as he exits turn number 3. Long way to go to make this one a reality, but it'll have some slipstream from the Ferrari up the road. Again, that I believe is the Average J Racing car, 207 with James Liebrecht behind the wheel. Their Porsche also giving them a hand with the slipstream up the back straightaway. And heading towards turn number 8, less than 5 minutes to go here in qualifying. Gate 0 stops. We're going quicker than bailed out.
Yeah, I think might be warming up his stuff here, maybe for another final run or two. Again, with only 4.5 minutes remaining time, he's starting to run slim. For a lot of these drivers looking at block in 6th place at the moment, coming to the final 2 corners.
Yeah, he's up a couple tenths of a second himself. He's got to beat a 113.634. 113.520 is what he will do, so an improvement there, and jumps up to 5th spot. Knocks Christopher Cook down 1. As we work through turn number 1 again. So at the top of the board, it's Porsche, Chevy, Porsche, Chevy, Porsche, the top 5. And it's clear to me that the Ferraris and the BMWs seem to be fighting a little bit of an uphill battle here at Mosport. Finney and Average J down in 9th. The first BMW still the LSM team car, Federico Fernandez in 11th. A lot of work to do, and these cars appear a lot bigger and heavier, but I wouldn't think that the difference would be so stark. But it's quite clear to me that the BMWs have been really fighting an uphill battle all year long.
Yeah, and even for Fernandez, this team, the number 5 LSM team, they just in general last time out at Watkins Glen had quite a few issues to sort out, where the car was just not quick and got themselves into quite a few issues. So hopefully they can turn around here at Mosport. But pace-wise, as you mentioned, is not looking quite there at the moment, being further down out of the final corner, and doesn't look like it's going to be improvement. Still fastest time for him, 114.1.
Daniel Morad closed in on Gavin Sanders. It's a 113.006. That's just about 100th behind the current provisional pole sitter, and he's going purple right now down the hill towards Moss Corner. Again, Daniel Morad, you might recognize this name, runs an IMSA with the FAF Porsche team and climbs up out of turn 5C. He's got a lot of real-world experience, got himself into trouble. I think it was back at Road America, the season opener. Got himself put in the doghouse here in this series, but now running very, very well. No, I don't think that was actually Morad. It was somebody else that got triggered in the doghouse by taking out a lap car. I can't remember who that was off the top of my head. Morad struggling with internet connectivity, though. That's going to be an issue to deal with. A handful of teams are, in fact. But Morad's times will probably be invalidated because of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've been also dealing with some internet issues lately, so I'm glad I'm not alone. It looks to see what other people are struggling.
AT&T fiber, man. Now I'm going to get jinxed because there's a storm coming. But 2 minutes left here in qualifying. Gavin Sanders for SPI Racing continues to be impressive in qualifying. Now, without the Grid Life RWB team here to take the victory away, which seemed like it was taking candy from a baby for them, this opens up the door for a lot of drivers to get an opportunity to win today.
Yeah, right.
And I just got a correction from Sam, Allegra Motorsports for IMSA with Dan Moret. Robichon is FAF, so my mistake there. We head down the hill again towards turn number 2, though. Again, as I was saying, Finian, without Grid Life RWB here, a lot of opportunity opens up for drivers to get victory. And for Gavin Sanders and SPI Racing, there's a lot of motivation there.
Yeah, there is, and I'm really curious to see this battle because it's looking to be pretty much a battle between SPI Racing, the 13, and the VRS Satellite Racing Blue Team, and the 11, the Corvette. I think those two cars are pretty much looking to be our main competitors for this win, looking very strong in qualifying, only a few thousandths of a second off of one another. So the pace is definitely there. I mean, at least obviously in qualifying. Race pace could be a completely different story, but obviously looking at those two being the quickest at the moment with just over a minute remaining. If these guys haven't started a lap, they're going to have to start it now.
So a minute left here in qualifying. Gavin Sanders, currently the quickest driver on course. With that said, we're going to take a short break. Hear a word from our partners. We'll be back with the race in just a moment. Back line from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. My name is Kyle Hire, joined by Finney DeCuna for the last round of the 2021 Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. A lot of Canada in there. I was about to say Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That's where we are. We're at Mosport for the last round of the season. 2 hours of action about to commence here for our 5th and final round. Again, this was up to a vote, and of course, with the largely Canadian driver base, the vote was obviously here. Finney, we've got 2 hours of racing coming up here in just a minute. 14 teams. It's a fairly small field. What that means is there's a lot of opportunity to move forward and not a whole lot of opportunity to lose a bunch of points tonight if you have a bad day. So we might see some aggression here in the last race of the season.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much aggression these guys are willing to throw. Because again, this is your final chance of scoring some points. I mean, hey, you might be aggressive, might be a few people angry, but you're going to be one with the trophy at the end. So we'll see if anyone's willing to take that big of a sacrifice here to gain a few points in the standings to give them a better benefit of getting the prizes at the end.
So in a minute, we'll have one last look at our track map here just to get an idea of where we're racing again. As I mentioned, 3.9 kilometers around here, 10 or 11 corners. It all begins with that run down towards turn number 1, Finney, and our trouble spot is in the middle of your screen right now. Turn number 2 is a trouble spot. Turn number 5 is a trouble spot, as well as turn 8. I think your best passing opportunity, surprisingly, is actually going to be turn number 8 at the far right of your screen. That is at the end of that long straightaway. You're going to have to try to go the long way around, but it's challenging to make a pass here. Turn 10, we've seen it in the NASCAR truck races. Really easy to get yourself put in a bad spot there and turned around.
Yeah, that's going to be, and we'll see how these guys are going to try to fight that issue, especially as the run goes on too. We're talking about how slick the track is, with it just being about 108 at the moment as the session wraps itself up. It's only probably going to get worse as these guys start to run about and the sun starts beating down on the track, might start to go up, and especially once these tires start to wear out just a little bit. Again, these are endurance tires, but over the course of the run, it's going to get just that much slicker for these guys, so they're going to have to account for it.
Well, you mentioned the weather. Here's one last look as we head into the race session. Back up to 111 degrees Fahrenheit on the racing surface itself. Pretty toasty here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. There's a look, population about 40,000 people, and again, constructed in 1961, is a true old-school style racetrack. All right, down to the racetrack here, Finian, and your starting lineup is going to be on the left-hand side of the screen. We'll roll with the drivers and the teams, and on row number 1, it's going to be Gavin Sanders for SPI Racing with Daniel Morad for VRS Satellite Racing Blue. He will start on the outside of that front row in the number 11 Corvette.
Yeah, moving on down in the third, we have the 880 Apex V2R team starting there, and then Screeching News Motorsports in the 22 starting in fourth.
In fifth place, Apex V2R's 881 team car, Nathan Block behind the wheel. Then MC Motorsports in that gold Porsche. Scott McGuire will be the one that takes the green flag in row number 3.
And moving on back to the 122 and Ever Quit Racing car, they're going to be starting in 7th place. Apex V2R is going to be starting in 8th, the 882 machine.
That's Erica Hoffman in the 882, James Liebrecht in 9th in the number 207 Average J Racing car. Timothy Salvatore starts 10th in RSC's C team in their beautiful Porsche 911 RSR.
Number 5 BMW for LSM team, that's Fernandez, is going to be starting off for them in 11th place. Next to them, Overtake Racing, the number 12 car, going to be starting with Price in 12th place.
Peter Neely begins in 13th in the number 3 for Event Matrix. That is another BMW M8 GTE. Dan Salmon starts in 14th for Not So Serious Cookie Jar Racing in the Corvette CAR. Field rolling off now for the formation lap. And as we roll off here, Finian, we had some keys to the race. I want to talk specifically about this corner right here, turn number 2. On the initial green flag, this is where you're going to want to be the most aggressive. It's also the place that will bite you the most, probably, in this entire race. Be careful on lap number 1.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to be the most aggressive there, but you have to consider it's a 2-hour race, and you're going to be on relatively cold tires, so how willing you are to throw it down into this corner is really going to be a testament of how gutsy of a race car driver you are. And you might want to argue, you might not be too gutsy going down there, because you could easily throw the car again, get into the grass just a little bit, and go flying to the wall and end your race within the first minute again of 2 hours.
Have a look at the manufacturers, and it seems like between the Porsches and the Chevrolets, it's pretty even. The Ferraris and the BMWs have some work to do to get up inside the top 5. Again, a championship is on the line for Gavin Sanders in the number 13. I think the only thing on his mind is leading this entire race and coming away with a victory on the season. Dan Morad and Adam Crane in the VRS Satellite Racing blue car, their goal is to win the championship and also get the best chance at winning the opportunity to test drive the Apex V2R race car. So a lot on the line for all these drivers here tonight as we head up the back straightaway, Finian, doubling up for our last race of the season, 2 hours from Mosport.
You're looking to see how these guys are going to get underway here. Who's going to be one to lead them down between the 13 and the 11. Again, arguably the strongest cars in the field starting on that front row. If that Corvette is going to try to usurp the lead from Sanders early on, we'll have to see.
Sun is out in the virtual world here at Bowmanville, Ontario, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Kyle Heyer here from Chicago, Illinois. It's looking gray, cloudy, and potentially rainy outside there, but in the fantasy land of iRacing, it's always sunny. Well, at least always not raining, at least for now. All right, field rolling through turns 8, 9, and 10. Porsches, Chevrolets, BMWs, and Ferraris for one final time in 2021 for the Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Time to go racing from Mosport. Green flag flies. We're racing at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, 3 wide with the Apex V2R team on the run down to turn number 1. That's dicey. They're still going to go side by side through turn 1. Gavin Sanders leads the way. Daniel Morad slots into second place as they head down the hill towards turn 2.
And Parsons gets ahead of Savage as they still fight for 4th place in behind Nathan Block in the sister car. Oh, already a car for that second I was talking about, and into the wall hard is Chris Jackson. That's
exactly what we said not to do on that opening lap. You can see the tire marks just got off course, and that put him in a bad spot. Meanwhile, back up here for second, Morad is cleared Emmett Savage for P2. And now it's all about getting yourself single filed out and clicking off laps. MC Motorsports, Scott McGuire under attack from the behind him. That's the 882 car. Erica Hoffman in behind, who we're going to talk to a little bit later. Slow through turn 5. A couple of the BMWs having trouble getting rotated.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, tough for them. They got to get their tires, make sure the tires are warmed up before they can start really getting on the attack. Really, all these drivers have to start worrying about that in these first few laps, heading down to turn 8 now.
Scott McGuire really struggling to keep Erica Hoffman behind him through turn number 8. Out front, it's a 4/10 of a second lead for Gavin Sanders. The best battle is right now for 6th spot on board with Hoffman through turn number 10.
Yeah, trying to get a decent run out at that final corner. Very short front straightaway, and then flying down towards turn 1. A little bit of an earlier entry in comparison to McGuire. You can see McGuire get that hole back on exit.
Heading down the hill through turn number 2. That's what caught out Chris Jackson. I don't think that car has a ton of damage, but he's going to hit pit lane with the Simability car. That is a real shame. They're going to spend the entire rest of the 2 hours fighting back from that first lap mistake. Just got shuffled off course, and that's what happens.
Yeah, silver lining for that car, though, is that they did hit the wall square on, and they didn't end up hitting him in the left front or the right front, potentially damaging the wheels of the suspension. So they should be fine in that department. In the front end, they're going to have to see repair and get the car back on the track. And the race is still young, still have some stuff off for grabs here as we work onto the back straightaway yet again. Curious to see Morad sitting in behind with a little bit of a slipstream. It's not too terribly big, but it could definitely be enough to initiate a pass as he's riding the coattails of Sanders.
Yeah, this track is extremely challenging to pass out. We've seen this in the past. You can run side by side here all day long. It's just slow, so you have to sort of pick where you want to make your move, and it's typically into turn 8, but it's a 3 or 4 corner process to get the job done, and it's not super straightforward because the track weaves right and left a couple times before you really get a definitive passing opportunity through turn number 2. So for Daniel Morad, he's got some work to do. Behind him is Screeching Boots Motorsports car, Taylor Parsons behind the wheel. This number 22 doing very, very well. And they've qualified extremely well. Started 4th, running 3rd. Good start for the Chevrolet Corvette.
See if they can move any more positions again with Morad just up the road. And there you see side by side the 2 Porsches blocked on Savage, it seems, and was able to get the pass done in turn 3.
Yeah, Nathan Block in the 881 going by teammate Emmett Savage in the 880 car. Again, all 3 of the Apex V2R cars hit. Oh, car off the background. Scott McGuire off in turn number 5. And some damage to the left front.
And the left rear as well. Ooh, and there might have been a little bit of help.
Heading down the hill, I think this is the 882 car. Erica Hoffman behind. Ooh, yeah. Bit of a punt there, and that just left enough speed there for the contact to occur. Got on board with Erica Hoffman.
Heading down to turn 5, just a little bit later on the brakes and a little bit of a nudge, but that's all it takes down there.
And not much McGuire could do after that. So McGuire will get that car back rolling, but they've also got some significant damage, and I think that's worse than the damage that Chris Jackson had. Let's come on down and repair that. Meanwhile, Gavin Sanders loving all this action behind him, 9/10 of a second away from Daniel Morad, and it is growing right now, and he's going to try to keep that gap continuously expanding.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. You want to see this gap start to grow, especially when you got the potential of this draft to keep to at least keep someone in behind you. It's always that pressure that mounts on you, so you can break away from it and drive away from the guy behind. It's a big weight off your shoulders and constantly having to check how much the guy behind you is gaining, because they're no longer getting that toe, that free toe in behind you down these straightaways. You can start focusing on your corners and breaking away even further. But still looks like he's still somewhat in it, getting a few miles an hour towards the end of the straight, so he's not completely out of the picture just yet.
Here's James Liebrecht teamed up with Joe Ferguson today in the Average J Racing car, chasing Erica Hoffman, offset significantly to driver's left for turn number 8, widening up that corner. Ooh, see that 882 look a little bit unstable through turn number 9. Are they chasing oversteer perhaps here, Finian? And do you think Liebrecht can get by in the Ferrari?
And see, you had a great run through the final 2 corners in comparison to Hoffman, but I was trying to just take a look and see. Yeah, it might be a little bit, might have the car set up in a way just backing just a little bit looser, maybe than they would like. They could also have it set up towards the end of a stint, maybe to handle a little bit better, so that could be something they're fighting as well. Have to see, though, if the Ferrari can mount the charge. The only Ferrari in the field of Liebrecht can mount the charge on Hoffman.
And also going to see if the damage to the front of Hoffman's car, the front splitter area damage from the contact with the 66, if that is going to be a hindrance to them. These cars are pretty aero sensitive, and they've got a lot of straightaway to run with here, so that could be an issue. Meanwhile, here's Peter Neely chasing Dan Salmon in the NSS Cookie Jar 75. They started dead last. They're up to 10th. Good climb for the number 75 car.
And still have some more positions in the game. There you see Federico Fernandez, the LS17 number 5 car, just up the road from him. As you look back at our leaders, still nose to tail, and now Morad really starting to make inroads on that 13.
Yeah, Morad right there, and quicker this time by a couple tenths of a second. 4/10 but to be exact. Big dive up the inside. Sanders leaves a little bit of room, but then comes down to apex a little bit late. Sanders maybe feeling the pressure as Morad feels more comfortable with the tires coming up the pressure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take a look and see something kick that off. I thought Sanders may have made a mistake that allowed Moore to get in, but no, Moore just kicked it up a gear in the last lap and a half and really started to come up to the back of Sanders. Now the pressure is definitely on. He, I think, gave a little purpose down to the turn, saying, hey, buddy, I'm here no matter whether you like it or not. He's willing to make a move as well.
Into turn number 5, Sanders, missed an apex there. You see the car bobble just a little bit. That's going to leave Morad with an opportunity to close right up. And now in the slipstream definitively on the back straightaway. Good battle for the lead here. 8 minutes into our final round in the Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Here we go, battle for the lead.
Yeah, definitely that slipstream. He's definitely close enough to get alongside, and then some. We'll see he's got a little bit of run. Going to be the outside of turn 8. He's going to potentially have the benefit here. Trying to pinch that Porsche to the apex. He's going to squeeze ahead, and it looks like he's going to clear him by turn 9.
Dan Morad takes the lead away on lap number 6 of approximately 98 here as Sanders relinquishes the lead for second place. And still work to do. I wouldn't panic just yet. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I was going to say now it's a matter of seeing if this Corvette can drive away. So Sanders was not able to do that. We still have that Corvette in behind. Now can Sanders still stick in behind and trying to mount some pressure back on Morad to make him make a mistake, or just kind of stick around, maybe have a lunge back at him yet again, heading down the straight this time by.
Screeching Moose Motorsports, Taylor Parsons as Nathan Block shoring up on the tailpipes on the run down to turn 5.
Both the horses in behind starting to be a nuisance for Parsons here heading to turn 5, looking to get a much better run in and a little bit, much better run out of the corner as well. You see Parsons sliding, trying to get traction.
And this looks like it would be easy picking for Nathan Block. Drive out to driver's left. And again, you're going to see a whole lot of drivers do this, try to pass on driver's left to use the outside run into turn 8 and clear into turn 9. But I have yet to see anybody complete a pass on driver's right. It seems like this is the obvious move to make, but it's a challenging one to complete. But it looks like Block will get it done.
You definitely need to know what you're doing, especially, everyone prefers going on that outside in turn 8 because it's actually perfectly inside in turn 9. And you could have a chance of a switch back in turn 10 if you're still alongside, if you were in Parsons' position, but he tries to go looking back around for turn 1. Can't get it done. Going to maybe do an over-under to try to get back to this Porsche. His battle's still not over. He wants to fight it back.
Block takes the position up into a podium spot for the 881 car. Meanwhile, up front, Gavin Sanders trying to stay in touch with Daniel Morad. It's 2.5 of a second at the moment, and growing slightly almost every corner for the number 11 VRS Satellite Racing blue team. Only 10 minutes in and plenty of action here, Finian. We got a long way to go. An hour and 50 left, and it's just getting started. Yeah,
I was going to say, these guys are already kicking off. They know what's at stake here, and for Sanders, I think he was hoping, as you mentioned earlier, they're hoping that it was going to be a clean, nice, easy race for him, but he's going to have some fighting to do with. Morad is going to give him a run for his money. As you look back at the BMW fighting with that is Daniel Salmon in the 75 as he's in 9th place. Yeah, Salmon again continuing to climb forward. Just got by Peter Neely in the Event Matrix car. Salmon again starting at the tail end of the field. Then it says Cookie Jar and is now advanced up to 9th, so +5 for that team. And again, sharing the car with Jason Roy. And remember, we've got a 20-minute period in the middle of the race where you can swap drivers, or you have to swap drivers, I should say. Long way to go until we get there, but right now, Salmon is looking really, really solid. Yeah, it's just a matter for him of keeping that pace up. This is Timothy Salvatore, currently running in 8th place. He's got some pretty big damage to the, let's see, the left front and the right rear wing. I'm not sure where he got that damage from. Yeah, you can see the wing is damaged there. Then you mentioned the damage on the left front and the left rear. He's been whacked once or twice. Yeah, that's interesting because, typically you see damage on the same side of the car, but usually damage like that means he's in 2 different incidents, and it looks like the replay looks to be the case. So some dramas there early. Here's Peter Neely trying to get back by Daniel Salmon in Moss Corner. Can't do it. Oh, heard some contact behind. It's Rich Price in the number 12 Overtake Racing BMW off in Moss Corner. Here's a look at how that happened all by himself. It's in a little bit of hot. Oh yeah. Once you get off the racetrack in the dirt, pretty much over. You're going to have to just
run into the fence the best way you can.
Yeah, especially in Moss Corner, too. If you're just a little bit off, you catch some grass, you're almost certainly going to tag the wall just a little bit. And there you see one of the Porsches come in. That is actually Timothy Salvatore. Yeah, he did take a look. He did have that left side damage from hitting the wall in Moss Corner as well. He said, try to have a look up the inside, but the door slammed shut by the Corvette.
Yeah, some good battling here. This is now for 8th place. Overtake racing car is off the track now, might be retired. And Screeching Moose Motorsports, Taylor Parsons, Emmett Savage battling for 4th spot. And keeping our eyes on the front runners, they've been kind of trading this gap back and forth a little bit. It was as small as a 1/10.5 of a second a lap ago, now up to 7/10, the largest it's been so far.
Yeah, it's been slowly expanding, about a 1/10 or 2 per lap. And that might not seem like a lot, but over the course of 2 hours, that can expand out to quite a bit, quite a few seconds. So that's not exactly what Sanders needs. And again, these guys are going to switch drivers, so different drivers are going to go into the car, and we've seen that can have an effect. A second driver being a little bit quicker for each car, or it could be a slightly quicker car in the Porsche, then in the Corvette can close them back up yet again. So there's also that factor at play as well. So I think for Sanders, again, it's not really too much of a worry now. He can let afford more to get away just a little bit, but not too far out in front. He's managing that gap pretty well for the most part.
Back to Emmett Savage in the 880. He'll turn the car over to Matt Corrins a little bit later in the day. For now, runs 5th. And Savage started this race in 3rd, so a slight drop in the standings, maybe a little bit surprising for us early in the going, given how good this 880 car has been this season.
Yeah, the highest of the Apex V2R drivers, Apex V2R cars in the standings is the 880, then the 881, and the 882. And then the 883 much further behind, so they're all nicely in order.
Peter Neely trying to get back by Dan Salmon through Moss Corner. The door opens, took a swipe. Swipe or no swiping. Salmon hangs on.
Yeah, Moss Corner is a very tricky place to make a pass on, especially if you want to throw it up the inside, because you're going to have to brake early, otherwise you're going to be dooring the guy next to you off the track, and especially if you have a guy cut a driver off like yourself, a Corvette, dude, get very tricky. Here comes one BMW on the other. It's Frederico Fernandez pulling off move up Peter Neely. It's going to have to back off into turn 8.
Wow, Neely just chucked the car down in there. Frederico Fernandez backed out. Neely just threw it into the corner. Gained a whole bunch of ground back on Salmon through turn number 8 and 9.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys are having a lot of fun. Neely trying to size up Salmon here, heading into turn 1. Salmon goes defensive on the inside lane. It's going to be great for Neely. Going to hop and skip over the curves of the apex curve in turn 1 to try to make up some time.
Down through turn 2. I think Neely is a little bit quicker, but also a bit more ragged. And it's not really paying off. I think consistency and smoothness is key around here. And they're both sort of racing each other and not the racetrack. And I always say, in a 2-hour race, you're not racing the competitors, you're racing the racetrack. Focus out the windshield, not on what driver's in front of you, but what road is in front of you. And they've lost a whole bunch of time, 9 seconds to James Liebrecht up the road.
Wow, and Salmon a very defensive line down into turn 5. That's going to lose him quite a bit of time. I'm kind of surprised of how gentle he took that, but hey, he kept that Corvette up in front, so I guess it worked.
Speeds climb north of 170 miles an hour on this back straightaway. On board with Neely. Have a look at the miles an hour on the bottom right. Only 156 that time around. Salmon a little bit sloppy on the entrance there, but Neely again climbing the curbs. Now the curbs here at Mosport, Finian, they're kind of all over the place. Some corners you can drive up on top of them. Some corners you want to stay far away from them. And I can tell you, there's not a lot here that you actually want to utilize. You got to stay kind of off of them, at least on the apexes.
Yeah, I was going to say, really, the exit curve's not too terrible. Some of them a lot worse than others, but the apex curving is really ones you want to stay away from, because a lot of these corners are high downforce. You're leaning on the car quite a bit, and those curves, you can mount up on them. It just throws the car balance way out of whack, so a lot of times you typically want to stay away from, at least at this particular track. You see Neely still try to work on Salmon as we cut down to the pits. Driver in pit road. That's
Rich Price. Again, this car was off track a little while ago. He's back on track now. Scored back in 13th place. There's some trouble for them. As we go back to Neely, again attacking Salmon, and Federico Fernandez watching from behind for LSM team. Getting a great view of the scrap for 8th place.
Yeah, Neely really needs to make sure he gets a good run out of Moss Corner. He needs to kind of stop. I think he's focusing too much on the way Salmon's entering the corner. That's compromising his exit quite a bit, and to the point where he can't get back. on the Corvette. And here comes Fernandez. Another move on Neely. This one he's going to look to the outside. Has a much better chance of making this move work.
On the outside through turn number 8. No grip out there, though. There's lots of marbles. And these two BMWs, these two blue BMWs, scrapping amongst themselves. That's Neely or Salmon's opportunity to drive away, but he didn't really get much of an opportunity before they line back astern again. Only 15 minutes into this race, and they're scrapping like it's the final lap.
These guys having a lot of fun scrapping for it, though. It looks like some great front forward. Fernandez getting a good run out of turn 1. Nowhere to look down into turn 2 as Neely throws it up, trying to get a nice apex done.
So interesting to see. Wow, big block by Salmon down into turn 3. How much better Neely gets off of the corner and how much better Salmon gets into the corner. But I'd much rather be better off the corner than into it. And right now, it looks like they're on polar opposites of the strategy land in terms of how to enter corners.
Wow, and Neely going to throw it up the outside into Mosport. I think he knew that Sam was going to be very defensive on the inside. Last 2 times he was doing something like that. Wasn't quite able to make that car stick there, though.
Here's another look at it. Watch the blue BMW in the middle of your screen. Drives up the outside, defensive line by Salmon, and almost came across the nose of Federico Fernandez, who kind of cut him a break there. As now we head up towards turn number 8, dropping tires in the grass is how much they want to be on the inside.
Yeah, great hits of driving by all of them, too. I've seen many cars get dumped in a situation like that where Neely tries to come back over, and then there's a car that stuck his nose up the inside. There's some great communication. You see him try to have it almost in the final corner.
Oh, contact.
And a little bit of a bump there heading out.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely on now. A little bit of contact. That's going to open up the floodgates for all the chaos now. If I know anything about Mosport. Screeching Moose Motorsports, Emmett Savage fighting for 4th. But I think for now we're going to keep our eyes on the 8th place battle between Salmon and Neely. Another swipe at the rear bumper.
Yeah, I can imagine that Neely's getting a little bit frustrated at this point. They're losing about a second or so a lap to the guys up ahead. They're 20 seconds behind the leader, and I think about, I'm trying to do the mental math in my head because I don't have timing score working for myself, just about 9 seconds off the pace in behind the drivers, the next group of guys up ahead of them.
Right behind Fernandez in the camera view in the center of the screen there, keeping Neely honest. He doesn't have a lot of opportunity to make mistake because Fernandez will be right there to snap up what's left. He's going to try, I think.
Here he comes with the run. Neely got to leave him the space. Not much space, though. And Fernandez is still not able to make it work on the outside, similar to unlike what we saw early in the race, to pass for the lead between Sanders and Morad.
Yeah, I think there's some marbles out there now that are making that increasingly difficult as we see the front straight battle. Again, so much yo-yoing back and forth between Fernandez and Salmon for Neely. Whoa, big jump on the curb. Wow, Fernandez was out of control there for a moment. Gathered it back up. But it's getting intense here for this 8th place battle. I don't think it's going anywhere right now.
No, it really isn't. And still, let's see, 15.6 for Daniel Salmon. Liebrecht, who's the next car up ahead in 7th, ran a 15 flat, just to give you an idea how much time they're losing in behind.
Definitely not running very quickly, running like this. Again, big dive for Neely into turn number 5. But Salmon gets off of turn 5 well enough to escape the draft.
Yeah, that Corvette really gets up and goes out of the corners in comparison to these BMWs. And that's where they're struggling quite a bit. I mean, it looked like Neely got a pretty decent exit, but the Corvette just went up and got up and went. And nothing for Neely to do.
20 minutes into our 100-minute race here, 100 minutes to go in the Apex V2R Canadian Racing Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Oh, getting stacked up here. Contact. 3 gets hit from behind. Fernandez gave him a shot and stomped on the brakes to avoid wrecking him. That leaves a 2-car battle.
Weirdly enough, that actually kind of almost helped Neely make it through the corner a little bit faster. At least, the very least, didn't compromise him at all. But for Fernandez, you see he's lost quite a bit of time. He's got to make back up to get himself back in this fight.
Meanwhile, back up for 4th place, Screeching Moose Motorsports with Taylor Parsons as Erica Hoffman actually make that Emmett Savage behind. Hoffman is back about 8 seconds, dealing with James Liebrecht in the Average J Racing Ferrari. Savage, again, will turn over the car to Matt Corrins at the halfway point of this race.
I'm a bit surprised he has not been able to get past the Corvette. It seemed like he would get past, similar to his teammate in the 881, Nathan Block, but he's been stuck in behind the 22, and it hasn't looked like he's been able to get a by. Similar to what we've seen with the BMW battle a little bit further back with the 3. Just not quite able to get by, even though they seem to be faster.
Down through turn 2, this battle continues. Back to Salmon and Neely. How long until we see the NASCAR trucks move up the inside of turn 10?
I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen it already. We saw it get a little bit close there. We saw a few bumper taps between both himself and the number 75 NSS cookie jar machine. But also Fernandez in behind too. You also got a little bit on the bumpers as well. So I think it's only really a matter of time. I can only imagine frustration building up lap after lap for Neely.
Working through turn number 3 now. Oh, Erica Hoffman off in, I think this is down in Moss Corner. That's the 882, the second incident Hoffman has been in tonight. All on her own, it looks like. Caught some curb and locked the brakes up. Oh, bounced off the wall.
Yeah, that's really what you don't want to see, especially a bounce like that. I think she may be good.
Yeah, pretty light hit, all things considered. Here's a look from on board. Just got the right front tire up in the air, then it stops gripping. And how fast things can change, and now Eric Hoffman's got a lot of work to do to make up the time that she just lost.
And she isn't going into the pit, so that means that the car is definitely, at the very least, good enough to drive. See, I think, battle for position.
Yeah, that's Salvatore and the number 2 RSCC team going by Federico Fernandez. That was for 10th.
Yeah, and actually, Salvatore had to come down to pit lane, was able to fix that car, but was looking a lot worse for wear earlier on, but now able to get the car fixed back up and back on pace here, 45 seconds behind the leader.
Taylor Parsons still, big crash for one of the Porsches. That is the Never Quit racing car of Chris Jackson. This was the car that we saw off at turn number 2 on the opening lap. What happened to him?
Major damage.
About a half a lap ago.
In turn 4, this is interesting.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a horrible crash. Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, you almost never really see incidents down here, but just went a little bit too wide on entry and a hard lick into the wall.
Man, that is a tough one. He comes up off the corner and tracks over to driver's right. And as he does that, you watch him just grab the grass a little bit and then just snaps back to the right and straight into the concrete. And that car is absolutely destroyed. And unfortunately for Chris Jackson, that will likely be the end of the day. Let's ride on board. This is going to hurt, I promise.
Oh, man, yeah.
And Scott McGuire just missed that. Another Porsche team having a bad day. So Chris Jackson limps it back to the pits. That'll be it for them. Emmett Savage and Taylor Parsons crashed in Moss Corner. Battle for 4th has gone wrong.
Have to take a look at how that started.
Well, they're still not done yet. I'm not going to pull away until they've sorted this out.
Kind of ironic, right? Yeah, the guy that may have just hit you and then spinning out, you're back fighting him yet again once they get back rolling, heading down to turn 8, looks like the Corvette's going to have to yield to the Porsche.
And we've got a little ways to go until we get to the pit window too, so not really a great opportunity to come down to pit lane at the moment. Let's go back and see how that all began. Emmett Savage was a long ways back from Taylor Parsons. This would certainly be naughty if he drove all the way up to Taylor Parsons here without Parsons making a mistake. I think, well, Parsons got off track and looped it. Oh, and just caught up Emmett Savage. Nothing Savage did wrong.
Oh.
Just got caught up in Parsons getting loose.
Yeah, Parsons is going to have to come down to pit lane after this first hit wasn't too bad, but this next hit, right, bam, right there in the right front, straight in the right front too. So he may have to come down. I'll be surprised if he didn't have to come down. It looks like he was able to still continue on. That's a bit surprising to me.
Looks like it got burned on the right front. It's all black and discolored. But man, that's a tough break for Taylor Parsons. Screech Moose Motorsports having such a good run to start the day. Here's Salmon and Neely again going. This has been a wild one here. 25 minutes into this, here's Neely on Salmon again.
Yeah, these guys are fighting like they don't have 2 hours left. I think they may want to take a look at the clock. I mean, I guess they don't have 2 hours left. They still have at least an hour and a half. So still a lot of racing to be done. And if it is going to be anything like this, it's going to be a real treat. I'm going to try to look up the outside, but
oh man.
to the curbs. He's going for anything he can at this point.
Yeah, watch this as he came up over the crest, had the opportunity on the outside, crosses over to the inside here, and is going to take a huge chunk of curb, turns in, clobbers it, bottoms the thing out on the curbing, and will continue to try to run Salmon back down. But it is a mess up front. Still about 0.3 of a second between our race leaders, Dan Morad and Gavin Sanders. Hour and a half remaining, and it has been an all-out scrap everywhere throughout the field today.
Yeah, this between Sanders and Moore, it hasn't really been an action throw battle ever since they sorted themselves out for the lead earlier on. But it is still spicy enough to be for the overall when these guys are both pacing themselves, and the leaders within a second of each other. So that's definitely going to be something to look forward. They're racing like there's an hour and a half left on the clock. The rest of the field isn't. They're going for every position they can.
Yeah, we're about 23 minutes away from the pit window opening. But you can come on down and switch drivers again. Salmon driving defensively, going to get run over if he keeps doing that. Again, totally legal, but at some point, the driver behind you is going to figure out a way to get by you, and that way he might just be dumping you from frustration.
It's looking like the closest he's been heading towards Moss Corner, Peter Neely. Going to try to look up the outside yet again. Salmon blocking every plan of attack for Neely. Heading down onto the straightaway yet again. It looks like Neely got a slightly better exit than he has in the past. He might be able to get a slipstream and get alongside. That could be the opportunity he's been waiting for.
It seems like the Corvette's strength is getting up out of the corners. Timothy Salvatore in the RSCC team has gone around for a loop. I think this is a self-spin here. Just got too much curb and kind of bunny hopped it there.
Yeah, unfortunately, after a great climb back up through the order, at least pace-wise, trying to get up through it. Oh, he lost another spot again to McGuire.
Oh, Neely again, big run at the exit of turn 10. He knows that he's got to have to pass Salmon somewhere other than turn number 8.
I think Peter Neely's trap attempted to pass this Corvette at every single corner on the track, and he's just not been successful.
Oh, there's a dive up through turn 2.
That is very opportunistic right there.
Man, is it October? Because that was spooky.
Sorry, not opportunistic, optimistic.
Yeah, both. Oh, he's almost going to run himself off the racetrack now. He is all out, giving every ounce of energy he's got to pass the 75 for 8th.
You can visually see the frustration with him with the driving. Just going for lunges that, you know, most drivers probably wouldn't go for, but he's just trying to something to get Salmon out of the way. He's been a thorn in his side in front. He's just not been able to get around him.
And he's definitely faster. He gets about a second back and then easily runs him back down. It's just getting there is one thing, passing is another. We always know that. Out front, though, Dan Morad looking really solid. He's led 18 laps of the 24 that we've completed. The other 5 belong to Gavin Sanders.
Yeah, that Porsche, the engine in the back buzzing in his ears, probably behind him.
And Peter Neely's got the engine in front, and he's using it like a battering ram right now on Dan Salmon.
Yeah, and you could argue he could probably, you know, maybe wait till the pit stops, a chance for a pit stop opens up, come down pits, do a driver's swap, and, you know, just make up the time alone with the driver's swap and, you know, potentially get past his Corvette in the pits. But he's still going to attempt because that's 20 minutes he has to wait till that window even opens up, and I'm sure he doesn't want to wait that long.
Wait? What is this word wait that you have in your vocabulary? I certainly don't know what that is as a racing driver. So this battle for 8th has been the one that's been the most persistent over the 25 laps that we've completed. Quarter of the way done here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It's the last race of the season of the 5 that we've done. Again, it was Road America that kicked things off. Then we headed out to the Nürburgring for round number 2. Round 3. Where was round 3? I don't remember where round 3 was.
That's a great question.
I know round 4 was Watkins Glen.
Yes.
Where was round 3?
Round 3. I'm totally not going to look at our YouTube channel.
I'm totally not going to do that either. Why would? Oh, well, round 2 was actually Sebring.
Round 3 was the Nürburgring.
Round 3 was the Nürburgring, so it was Sebring that I had forgotten about. Yeah, I totally didn't just look at YouTube. I knew that off the top of my head. It's been a while. There's one of these every month, so it's not a ton. So with a quarter of the race completed, we've got our favorites. I think that any of the top 2 could win this race. It's pretty far back to the Apex V2R cars. But my question is, of these two, which one ends up crashed less?
Between these two?
Yeah.
I mean, with the way Neely's been throwing into some of these corners, he has me a little bit worried because at some point that frustration is going to force him into a mistake. But so far so good. I will say props to him for not getting into Salmon at all. I think there's only some slight bumper taps. There hasn't been too much contact between them. I don't know many drivers that would have just thrown it in there and not let off the gas like we saw there and just move him out of the way.
Yeah, he just, again, a lot of harsh brake application, backing out of potential dives and keeping Salmon looking out the rear view mirror, or at least the rear view camera, I guess, in the C8R. Biggest lead that Daniel Morad has had so far, 1.6 seconds. That's the largest lead anybody has had in this 33 minutes of action so far.
We'll see if Sanders is able to close that back up. He's been managing the gap pretty well so far. I would imagine he's going to get his head down and close it back up. But it's kind of amazing that even after already over a half an hour racing, the lead is still within a second and a half. Is pretty impressive stuff.
Yes, I promise there are other cars in the race, but these two are the ones that are the most volatile of the other 13 drivers on the racetrack. 13 teams, I should say. And I must add that a 5-round championship with team driving requires a whole lot of drivers to consistently show up. And even though there are only 14 teams, I have to commend the teams that have showed up. This is 28 drivers here today. That's a lot more than most leagues can get on any average day. And while the team number might not seem impressive, the driver number certainly is, as it has been all season long. Jump over the curb for Neely. Super close again, but no cigar.
Yeah, also a very, very good set of quality drivers as well. She's fantastic drivers throughout the field, make some great moves, great drives throughout the season. So that's always a fantastic thing to see as well. He's still looking, Neely trying to have work. It does look like Timothy Salvatore in his Porsche. He's closing back up on Federico Fernandez, battle for 10th position.
Yeah, Salvatore's last lap, 1:14.909. Federico Fernandez just up the road in the BMW, just ran at 1:16.308. You see the significant damage on the nose of that car, so the damage is certainly hurting him. And Salvatore again recovering from an early mishap and then a spin. There's still chance. He's back about 1 minute and 7 seconds from Daniel Morad, the race leader, but there's still chances to get up inside the top 10 and maybe even the top 5 should things go his way and his teammates' way for the rest of the race. Salvatore again will turn things over to Matt at the end of this. And Screeching Moose Motorsports again will turn over to McKenna Dean here after their tussle with Emmett Savage a little while ago. And there is Salvatore on the outside of Federico Fernandez, gets that pass done easily.
And actually right behind you, as you can see, there is the Corvette, your race leader, Vira Satellite Racing Blue, Daniel Morad. And then still followed in behind by Gavin Sanders, who's been slowly trickling away. It was about 1.5, 1.6, to 1.7, and this time by looking to be back down to 1.6. So he looks to close that gap back in just a little bit, so still not letting Morad away. And you see Morad already flashing the lights saying, hey buddy, I'm coming up on you, please get out of the way.
Well, we've got 5 minutes until the pit window opens. You're going to want to run a little longer than that. You're going to want to essentially run this until halfway. 15 minutes until the pit window opens, so still a little ways to go. But you're going to essentially just want to run this thing all the way to halfway and just split this race evenly, I'd imagine. Unless you know that one driver is significantly quicker and you've got the fuel to make it to the end, then you'd come kind of lopside the stint that way. Wow, got close there with Fernandez and Salvatore in turn 5.
Yeah, Salvatore ran a little bit wide and Moss corner went a little bit on the grass and on the curves, was able to keep the car still on the track as Parsons is down in pit lane. And this is, again, not a scheduled stop for a driver change, still, as you mentioned, 15 minutes from that. So not sure why he was back down there.
Well, again, the damage repair is probably one thing. That car had so much damage that was going to hold them up. So maybe splitting this race into 2 parts, or 3 parts rather, and 2 pit stops. I don't hate it. I mean, they were losing some time with the damage they had, so you might as well try something different. Daniel Morad into the thick of the traffic right now. Lights flashing on Gavin Sanders' Porsche, trying to alert the field that they are coming.
And coming in a hurry here is the Parsons lap car going to get in the way of Sanders, who's going to have to pass this one extra car in comparison to Morad.
More headlights flashing this time for Timothy Salvatore, putting the number 2 car lap down. We only got 8 drivers left in the lead lap. I am curious, Finian, with 40 minutes in, we've lapped almost half the field. How many drivers and teams will have left on the lead lap at the end of this one?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the rate they're going out, I want to say we could potentially see everyone up to maybe 4th or 5th place probably be lapped once, based off of how much to the time based on the gap these guys currently have back to the leaders.
Again, it's just the pace that Daniel Morad and Gavin Sanders have set is a fervent one. Last time by, Daniel Morad was only about 0.2 of a second off of his best lap of the day, and as the fuel burns off, it's only going to get quicker, even with the tire wear. So Morad continues to set blistering laps. Gavin Sanders trying to do the same. He gained about 1/10 that time on the race leader, but still some lap traffic to deal with. 2 cars, one that of Taylor Parsons, the other of Timothy Salvatore, both fighting for 9th.
Yeah, this is a tough thing, lap traffic management, especially. You mentioned how tough it is to pass cars when you're battling for position, and even lap cars too. It's not going to be any easier. Some guys may be nice to move out of the way. That was not on purpose though for Parsons. He's going to flying off the track, going to narrowly avoid the tire barrier.
Nicely done, but of course going off the course would have been probably the better of the strategies rather than just try to miss the wall. But Taylor Parsons having a bit of a rough day so far, dropping the Screeching Moose Motorsports car down to 11th, 1 lap down.
He threw that car hard into turn 5, almost looked like he was going to loop it.
Back up to James Liebrecht in the Average J Racing car, shuffled all the way up to 5th. Erica Hoffman behind in the 882 for Apex V2R. But James Liebrecht in the Ferrari started this race in 9th, fell back a little bit now, charged forward to 5th.
Yeah, Hoffman trying to close that gap and make the pass happen here. She's been closing in last few laps, getting very close to that Ferrari, and now is there a chance to attack here the next few laps? Could make this pass before pit stops are underway. It's about maybe 20 minutes away from James, so plenty of time to work with here.
Well, Hoffman had struggled a little bit with the turn 5 area, Moss Corner, originally getting into the back of the MC Motorsports car in turn 5, sending Scott McGuire into the wall, and then a couple laps later herself locking up and getting into the turn 5 barrier. So Hoffman maybe trying to be a little more gentle on the brakes in that area, but closing significantly on Liebrecht as we get down to the end of the first 40 minutes.
And also, I guess might as well come back to the Neely and Salmon show. Whoa, got very close out of into the final 2 quarters. Neely going to try to work on the outside. Is this going to be it for him trying to work power around down the straightaway? Whoa, almost touching bumpers down the front straightaway into turn 1, and no, yet again, Neely is going to be stuck in behind him.
That's the closest he has been. He tasted pay dirt there for a second and had to tuck back in behind. Is that only going to make him hungrier? And I don't know if he's in much of a rush now, because the next driver up the road is 13 seconds ahead of Salmon, but Neely still looks just as desperate, swiping across the rear bumper of that C8R.
I don't know if I've ever seen a driver make this many attempts to pass a car and not be successful. And this is not a dig at Neely. He's made quite a few attempts. Salmon's been really good at defending and just making that Corvette as wide as possible and keeping Neely in behind. So Neely, he's still struggling to find a way on by it, but man, that was very close there for a second.
It's been very close for 30 minutes about, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere, that's for sure. Liebrecht and Hoffman, again, fighting for, this would be 5th spot. Taylor Parsons just got by Federico Fernandez, puts Fernandez back to 11th.
Parsons is going to be looking at Timothy Salvatore just on the road in his Porsche. That's going to be a battle for 10th place. Battle for 9th place, so if he can get there. So curious to see how this is going to play out for Parsons. If it was worth coming down to pit road, I guess maybe he felt the drivability of the car was starting to go away. I guess fix the car before anything bad happened. Now what I'm curious is, too, if he can maybe have a slightly shorter stop as far as fuel is concerned, because he already came in. I imagine took some gas. He does have to wait for the driver change.
Yeah, that's what's going to hit them hard is the driver change portion.
I'm trying to think, is the driver change, is that added time to what your existing pit stop is, or is that just a minimum pit stop time?
I believe you can switch drivers during the service, but I still think that the driver swap would take longer than a fuel stop would regardless, so it's going to hurt them no matter what, from my understanding.
Right.
Oh, Neely again with a run on Salmon. This is where Neely has been getting the best runs, is through turns 9 and 10. That time wasn't able to fake out Salmon well enough.
Yeah,
stays
that's a big thing too for Salmon. Neely's been, I think, trying to scare him out of the corners, throw the car off the inside, kind of spook him out of the corner, get a bad exit. But Salmon's not been faced by it at all, and just kind of continued driving on his own race. I think that's really the big thing that's been keeping that car up in front.
I think Neely's mistake is doing it so many times that Salmon's numb to it now. He's not going to move regardless. It's become the established way that Neely has attempted to make a pass is by weaving all over the place and chucking it up the inside. So at some point, it's not going to be surprising to Salmon anymore. And that's going to make it even harder to kind of mentally abuse the driver out front. Nathan Block in pit lane.
Another early stop.
Yeah, this is driver swap for Darian Swolf jumping in.
Huh. So is this allowed then? Or
my understanding,
it's a little
hour
early
10.
no?
Yeah, I would have thought an hour 10, but I guess Swolf is in. Regardless, we'll see how this pans out. Whoa, okay, all right, a lot of... Here we go, here's a dive up the inside for the 22. The Screeching News Motorsports car on Timothy Salator, pass complete.
Pretty solid move done there by Parsons to get on by. Whoa, I saw James Liebeck almost throw the race away down into Moss corner, threw that Ferrari hard into the corner. You can see it right here.
Whoa.
Very wide to the curb, just a little bit of some grass. Not too much though, so able to keep the car on pavement, but that's, again, playing with inches there.
Not even. That way, he was off course. He just managed to keep the wheel straight enough and didn't load up the left rear tire. The issue with where you go off here is, grass isn't all that bad unless you load up the wheel that is in the grass. And here, all the areas where you come close to it, you're loaded up. So it's really easy for the car to step out on you as we go back to Salmon and Neely. I think this battle will be very short-lived once the drivers switch. But for now...
Which is unfortunate. Whoa!
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh!
That was only a matter of time. They're both going to crash. I imagine they're both not going to... Oh, yeah. That's what'll happen.
You said you wanted something from the Truck Series. There it is.
I was waiting. It was only a matter of time before that move happened. Oh, man, they're still going at it.
They're not happy campers.
No.
And Parsons saying, please excuse me. I'm trying to make my way through this. I don't want to be involved.
That's for position as well. Yeah, that was only a matter of time before that was going to happen. With how many times the Corvette had gone defensive. Yeah, no hole there, but, I mean, you can't, I don't know. I mean, he just got wrecked, but also the way he's been driving the last 40 minutes, he kind of deserved it. So,
yeah. Neely, I think Neely reached the boiling point there. And unfortunately, through all that, I'm not sure this is on purpose or not, if he decided to give Salmon back, he's back at square one regardless.
Well, I tell you one thing is the way that this track seems to race is you can totally defend and block and stay in everyone's way, but it is a pretty self-policing policy around here. And Timothy Salvatore is going to take advantage of these guys' mishaps, and he's going to go through into ninth.
It's also really ironic, too, because typically the M8's the main big car. Corvette. Meanwhile, that Corvette's been extremely big and extremely wide up in front. As you see, as you mentioned, Salvatore working his way on through. Now going to try. Now he's going to have a crack at Salmon. We'll see how this is going to work.
You're saying the Corvette's wide. I think that rear end is a cruise ship. It's got about 800 linear feet from tail light to tail light back there. Yeah, she's not a skinny girl back there, that's for sure. Yeah, so I think Salvatore, I wonder if there was some prior history between Salmon and Neely. And we'll see if that's the case, if Salmon just lets Salvatore go on by without much of a fight. Well, if the goal was screen time, you got that at least.
Yeah, these guys have been on the air for quite a while. I mean, and good enough, it's been entertaining to just watch Neely just try to chuck it up the inside of almost every single corner on the racetrack, trying to make something happen.
Salvatore is also running.
Federico Fernandez in the wall down in Moss corner. He's going to have to reset.
Oh, he's in it, like in it.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Oh, he's been down there for a while, just locked it up.
I'm kind of amazed that he had enough speed to wedge it in there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be retirement or, very least. Well, that's it for Federico Fernandez. The battle he was having is now over. And going back to Salvatore and Salmon, I'm a very curious boy right now to see how this goes.
We'll see. I think Neely is sitting behind. Yeah, you have Adam. do your best. I tried for 40 minutes and couldn't get anything done.
Well, the gap isn't actually shrinking all that quickly, so not really sure how soon we're going to get a look at a different driver taking a passing attempt on Salmon. Out front, though, it's still Daniel Morad. Erica Hoffman now catching James Liebrecht. This is for fourth.
Yeah, this got kind of stabilized between these two, and again, not sure this is on purpose because they know that pit stops are just over the horizon, or if Hoffman's just kind of stabilized out, but it looks like she's been closing in a lot more last lap or two. Making slightly better line through turn 3 as well.
Downhill through turn 4 and into Moss corner. Dive for Hoffman. This is where she struggled a little bit to get the car slowed down, but she does a good job there and close the gap a little bit to Liebrecht in the Ferrari.
Yeah, she's actually really close to ramping over the curve again and potentially sending the car off course one more time. But did a great job getting that car to slow down.
Big run here coming towards turn 8. Hoffman's going to look drivers left. Liebrecht defends drivers right.
I'm not sure if she's enough alongside. Oh, wow. That's going to be Liebrecht. I thought he was going to yield, but he's still going to fight it. He's going to be back on the outside now and still going to hold her.
Wow, that was a really impressive defense from Liebrecht. I thought he had lost it, but he did not. He held on strong and leaves that complex with a bigger lead on Hoffman than he had going into it.
Yeah, that was kind of impressive. It almost looked like he was backing out, but I think it was more just Hoffman threw it in way too hard into turn 8. And Liebrecht was able to counter it through turns 9 and 10. Fantastic driving. It's
really difficult to stay on the outside of left-hander in turn number 9. That's the hardest one, I think, to drive alongside somebody, and other than maybe turn 10. And Hoffman's going to get a chance to go again. Cloud over the speedway. That's going to cool the track off just a little bit, at least in one half.
Yeah, taking a look at the track temperature, that actually dropped down to 100 degrees and actually just went to 99.
Oh, big dive for Hoffman up the inside of 5. Lock up again. And disaster averted, but will cost Hoffman time. Maybe shift that brake bias forward just a little bit. It seems like it, or maybe even backwards a little bit. Seems like it's locking up those front tires almost too easily.
Yeah, we did a Lewis Hamilton there. Shift it all to the front wheels, lock them up.
Pit window is open. Yeah, you can have drivers come on down and do their driver swaps now. They'll probably wait another couple minutes to get to exactly halfway as we go back to Salvatore trying to close in on Salmon. This would be a battle for 8th.
Yeah, I guess to maybe our expectations that Salvatore has not been able to get by.
Oh, update on the 881. A couple minutes ago, they ran out of fuel.
Oh.
And that's why they are, I guess they just didn't fuel the car up enough to make it to the halfway point. That was peculiar. So
yeah, and even then, I'm still surprised. And in that scenario, you just would fuel the car up and then go at least a little until you're in the time to switch. I'm still not sure if they're good or not. I would imagine that they're not, and that they would.
No, they're
going to
have to come back down.
or
they're going to have to come back down to pit lane. I think the penalty will be a drive-through in pit lane, which they're going to have to do again anyway. So I don't think that's a huge deal. There's Salmon and Salvatore. Oh, lift out for Timothy at the exit of turn 2. Overcommitted perhaps just a little bit. Sam Horde in the LSM team car hits pit lane, or leaves pit lane rather, for the BMW. They're on down for fuel. Daniel Morad continues the lead. We'll turn the car over to Adam Crane in any moment now.
Yeah, and Sanders has been falling off in the last in these last couple of laps now to 2.5, 2.6 seconds in behind Morad. So the gap was mostly for the first half an hour was to be under a second. Now has been slowly expanding in the wrong direction for the 13, but still not out of the possibility. That car is still very much in the contention for the win.
Well, you mentioned he had been falling off. I don't know if it's even him falling off as much as Morad getting quicker. Gavin Sanders had previously just ran his best lap, and you know who else just did? Daniel Morad, 1:13.520. That is almost as quick as his qualifying time. And the cars are getting faster and faster as the race moves on here.
I guess it makes sense when you start to burn off all the fuel, car getting lighter, and also a little bit faster. Timmy Seltzer are going to have a decent run through turn 3 here in comparison to Sound. And going to try to have a look at turns 4 and 5.
Whoa, big moment on the brakes. Salvatore indeed, he bobbled. But it cost him a little bit of time, but watch this as he comes down the hill here, Finney, and it was a big moment right here as he jumps on the brakes, wiggle and a wobble, and got the car just wound up in time to avoid hitting the back of Daniel Salmon, but a sketchy moment there on the brakes.
Yeah, Moss corner is a tricky corner to brake for. You're going to have to pretty much set where you're going to line yourself up on entry before you start getting on the brakes hard. And you saw a little bit squirmy was Salvatore, and almost ended up going flying off the track, but able to just keep it on, have another attempt.
Hour and 6 minutes left in the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series, brought to you by Apex V2R. And again, the prize, so one of the eligible prizes, is driving a track prep Scion FRS at Shannonville Motorsport Park. Now, I own an FRS. You could say it's track prepped.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's got wheels and tires, and it's soon to have coilovers. I mean, it's got, yeah, okay, I know it. Goes, thanks. Genius. It's got performance wheel. No, they're actually cheap wheels and cheap tires, but stickier than stock. Good cars, those things. Hello, my dog is here.
It's better than the wheels that you had that car came with.
This dog I'm taking care of was sleeping, and now it's over here viciously licking my arm.
Oh.
Hello, buddy. I have an hour left. You gotta wait for the pit stops. Here comes Salvatore on Salmon.
Oh, and some contact in turn 8, and Salmon gonna go off the track.
Ooh, skip and a hop back onto the surface.
Oh, and look who's rejoined the party.
Oh, the headlights flashing.
The headlights.
Oh,
remember me?
Well, let's go back and look how that happened. A bit of a tank slapper incident there. Gotta go back a little farther than that, looks like. And we'll watch from up above. Did Salvatore turn in on him? Oh, yeah. Turned in on the door and sent him around. And whoop, right over the top. And headlights are flashing from the BMW.
Part 2.
Taylor Parsons getting by Darren Swolf in the Apex V2R 881. That's Taylor Parsons that just went by.
They made a great move on the outside of turn number 4. Both these guys drag racing down to Moss corner. Parsons going to win, but Swolf in the 881 not over yet. Still trying to keep that Corvette at bay.
Oh, the band's all back together back here. This time the 5 is driven with Sam behind the wheel now. Jumping in for the LSM team. 14th place. open up the inside lane and down for turn number 8. Oh, that was tight. Takes a position, but he's 4 laps down, so not actually for position. So probably 2 or 3 laps until we'll see Daniel Morad come on down. Again, approximately 98 laps in this race. And that means we'll probably see pit stops at lap 49 or 50, which is about 2 to 3 laps from now.
Yeah, the gap's expanded up to 4 seconds. As you mentioned earlier, Morad is really kicking into fast laps right now, and just leaving Sanders in the dust after the gap was close for such a long portion of this race.
That 4-second gap, as you mentioned. See if Sanders will try to maybe undercut, maybe gain some time. Battles have all sort of fizzled for now as we get to the meat and potatoes of this race, the halfway point.
Peter Neely's come down onto pit lane in the number 3 machine. I think he's going to kick off our sequence of green flag pit stops.
Yeah, he will likely turn this over to his teammate, which will be Jeff McKaig in the Event Matrix team car.
Oh, and he passed the stall.
Awkward moment there for a second. He will pull that car in, sort of.
Is that legal? I guess it's legal.
I mean,
it looks like you know those supermarkets you have where you kind of pull in to a parking spot on the side of the road.
That is a parking ticket in Chicago. I'll give you that. They'll get you. Morad crosses the line. Next time by will be roughly the halfway point. And once we hit the mathematical halfway point, I expect that to be a popular time for almost everybody to come. Morad dropping a tire there. That was a sketchy moment.
You gotta be very careful, especially at this point in the race. The tires, I wouldn't say are worn. Definitely had some laps underneath them. So you don't want to be getting a little bit too sideways with these cars, especially considering the lead he's built up at this point. You can argue that he doesn't have to maybe push as hard, but I think, again, that's always a tough thing to tell a race car driver.
Through turn 5. Jeff McKaig leaving the box, avoids the wall nicely, and will pull away behind them. Arch nemesis Dan Salmon comes in for the NSS Cookie Jar team.
Yeah, I think also with the 3 missing the box on entry, I think that might definitely, I was thinking there may be a shot for them to potentially overtake the Cookie Jar team, but with the whole getting into the box, I think that might have cost them time, put them back in behind the 75.
Emmett Savage is in, turning over the car to Matt Corrence. He will jump in the 880. Dan Morad stays out one more time. Does Gavin Sanders come in? Indeed, he will. So Gavin Sanders will turn his car over to teammate Justin DiBenedetto for SPI Racing. Led 5 laps early and have been second ever since. Into the box.
Curious to see how much longer Morad's going to stay out, if he's going to answer the call of Sanders and bring that car down in.
Can't imagine he'd stay out for longer than just this lap. It's the halfway point now. It can't be a whole lot of fuel left. Climbing the hill towards the pit entrance, Justin DiBenedetto leaving the box now for SPI Racing. Nice stop there. And Dan Morad, we expect him to come hit pit lane. And he will stay out yet another lap, so trying to overcut here. I don't hate this strategy here, Finian, but I'm just wondering how much longer he can go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see as well. Oh, it looks like the 3 of Jeff McKay, he's back down on pit lane. And, I think the reason is because he had a bit of an off-track excursion down in Moss Corner as he came on his out lap. I ended up hitting the wall pretty hard. I had to come down for repairs.
Unfortunate. Erica Hoffman is in the 882. We'll turn that car over to Marc-Andre Seguin for Apex V2R. And we'll talk to Erica Hoffman here in just a few minutes. Dan Morad still has yet to pit, and he and James Liebrecht, as well as, I guess it's just those two that are the last drivers to make their pit stops for the day.
I guess trying to extract everything out of the car. I mean, you said that the cars are fastest when they're light on fuel, so I guess just trying to run the tank out here.
And making good time. Still in the high 13s. Really competitive and solid lap times, but he'll have to give it up eventually. And today will not be that day. I guess it'll be tomorrow that he'll come to pit lane.
Yeah, and there's Liebrecht actually making his way down onto pit lane, so I was just going to leave Morad, the only car yet to pit.
Some damage on Liebrecht's car. I don't remember seeing damage on that machine.
Oh, yeah.
On the right front especially.
Got to put my detective hat on here and try to find out what happened.
Yeah, Morad still out on course. The last driver yet to pit, Taylor Parsons for Screeching Moose Motorsports. Oh, they actually have to pit again. I forgot about their situation. And so does the Apex V2R 881 team car with Darian Wolf behind the wheel. They will also have to come back down pit lane for fuel before the end of this event.
Huh. So I'm looking at Liebrecht's car. I'm looking at the replay of what happened to him. It looked like the car just hit the track.
Like did he hit a landmine? Yeah.
I mean, I guess he did. It didn't look like the car kind of dropped. It was on the run down through turn 4 towards turn 5. That's where he picked up the damage. So interesting. So that's where he got that damage.
Yeah, that can happen here at Mosport. It's back in the old days of iRacing with the open wheel cars, as Dan Morad hits pit lane. They used to hit what's called landmines, kind of gaps in the racetrack and kind of imperfect seams, and they could damage the car. And I think there's still a few that exist out there, unfortunately, which seems to have caught out the Ferrari. All right, 56 minutes to go. Daniel Morad comes in. This car has led 46 of the 51 laps that we have completed. And now the real question is how much, if any, will Justin Benedetto gain? A 52.9 second stop at the box. That is on the medium range of the stop speed here. And as Adam Crane jumps into the VRS Satellite Racing blue car to hopefully take it to the end.
Yeah, it started off this race, Morad versus Sanders, and now it's going to be DiBenedetto versus Crane here for the second stint. And you see DiBenedetto try to work around a lap car. It's not quite letting him on through.
Trying to get an idea of which car this is. That is one of the Apex V2R team cars. Couldn't quite catch the number on it.
It is the 880.
Matt Corrance, who is a lap down in 5th. So Adam Crane down at the bottom of turn number 2 already. Justin DiBenedetto just at the top of it. So it's actually seemed like it was a pretty sizable gain for Crane. Second better in the lane. And maybe a little bit more time on the racetrack that they gained running on light fuel.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's where a lot of that came from. Is, they were running, I think, around 4, almost 5 seconds before they came in. Now it's looking to be about 7 seconds, a little over 7 seconds. The gap now, I think that was mostly from, that car just staying out on the track and just getting some nice laps. And it was DiBenedetto, also a little bit of a mistake down into Moss corner just now. It cost him a little bit of time. It's a slight off-track excursion.
55 minutes to go now. All the Apex V2R cars lined up in 4th, 5th, and 6th. None on the podium, though. And again, the 881 still has to come down for that second stop. Adam Crane is sitting pretty here, Finney, and the goal for them is just to not mess it up. 54 minutes, all they have to do is not crash, essentially. With an 8.5 second lead, they're pretty much set, provided that Justin Benedetto just doesn't run them down on pace, which still could happen.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that they're not that could usurp them, as you mentioned. It's a matter of DiBenedetto is going to be able to push that car consistently to catch up to that Corvette, and if that's the case, Crane is going to have to push a little bit, whether he likes it or not. Although we know that Crane is a pretty fast driver by himself, so I think he should be able to manage this gap pretty easily as take over from the hard work that Morad put in to building that lead.
Joe Ferguson has jumped in for Average J Racing back in 7th. Jason Roy for the Cookie Jar team in the number 75. They resume their 8th place run at the moment. So all the battles have sort of fizzled, and we're getting into the point of the race where everyone's just sort of clicking off laps here, Finian. But I'm curious to see the lap time difference between Adam Crane and Justin Benedetto, because 9 or 10 second gap isn't all that much in a 53-minute battle. Plenty of time to make it up. But right now, Adam Crane almost right back where his teammate left off, a 1:14.2. It's a pretty good lap time. Well, now we'll see what Benedetto can run. He's back on pit lane.
Oh, no. What has spawned this?
Is this a penalty or coming back down for service?
I mean, I didn't hear anything on the radio or what. I guess coming down for service, huh? Well, that's an interesting. Oh, and up on the jacks too.
Oh man, that's going to be devastating for their race. They were pretty much suited up for a second place finish, and they're not going to get it, not by a long shot.
Yeah, I'm curious what this is, because I thought, maybe, because it could have been a chance to maybe underfuel the car by accident. I've had that problem happen, especially when you use automated software. But going up on the jacks is an interesting thing, because, you either change the tires or you don't. And I can't imagine they made a mistake with that. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what happened to them, but that's definitely going to cost them and make Crane's life significantly easier.
Yeah, Crane really is in position where he's leading this race by almost a lap now. All he's got to do is run these final 52 minutes without getting involved in a collision with lap traffic, and he's sitting pretty. Never quit racing, true to their name. Started off in the wall in turn number 2. Well, they don't quit. And running in 12th right now.
Flipped up the back out car and got back out on track, and they're working their way through the order now. The next car on their list is the 66, currently driven by Christopher Cook. Oh, and speaking of which, Cook off into the tire barriers in Moss Corner.
Trouble for the 66. This is the second time they've been in the wall in here. First, whoa, and the leader, Adam Crane, looped it down there.
Oh no!
Oh, he's gonna get hit. Drama's down in Moss Corner. It is chaos down there. The first car that spun. Again, the 66 of Christopher Cook. We documented had a spin down here earlier off the bumper of the 882. Here is what led to that. Skids in here, and again, we've seen the Porsches do this a lot. Rear heavy, not a lot of weight over the front. Blocked it up into the fence, and then Adam Crane comes down here. Sees it, jumps on the brakes, panics, spins, and right into the path of Tony Kloosterman, who got into the back of him. Thankfully, not significant damage from what I can tell.
Yeah, it looks like the Sims thought he got damaged and then realized he didn't actually get anything, and it went back to how it was prior. He may have something. He might have gotten something maybe in the left rear, but I can't quite tell. But it definitely could have been a lot worse. And you can only imagine if whatever happened to the Benedetto didn't go down, bringing that car back down to pit lane, they could have had a shot at getting the lead right there.
Yeah, it didn't go their way, that's for sure. 49-second lead, though, is pretty significant still for Adam Crane, so I don't think they're super worried about their position at the moment. But can't have that happen again. Also with the potential for getting crash damage in something like that, a pit stop would ruin their chance to win, and that would put Matt Corrance in a position to win, if not for Justin Benedetto in second. Matt Corrance 21 seconds back from the SPI Racing car. Akina Dean jumping in for Screeching Moose Motorsports in the number 22. Documented their issues earlier in the day. A very strong start, great qualifying effort, ran inside the top 5 early, then dropped on down with an early pit stop. Now with the driver swap completed, they're good to the end, running in 7th, so it's still going to be a decent day for them. 8.5 seconds up to Nathan Block in the 881 for position. But I'd say all in all, given the struggles they've had, this is going to be an okay day.
Yeah, indeed. And actually, here's an interesting thing. So looks like the 881 has come back down to pit road, and they put Nathan Block back in the car.
Yes. Interesting strategy there.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what they're planning on doing, because I would imagine that Swass is going to have to get back in the car, right?
I don't know. I think the driver swap is just required once, but there is a minimum drive time, I believe. And
yeah,
so Block
they don't
might
have
be,
anything. They don't have anything enforced by the sim, but I would imagine that they'd be doing that with their own officiating.
Yes.
So
some work left to do for that team as we go back to Marc Andres again in the number 882. And speaking of the 882 team, we would like to chat with Erica Hoffman. We'll move here into the interview channel and we'll talk to her in just a moment. And pull up my information. Again, Erica Hoffman, who we mentioned earlier, her first time running the series. And got a message from Matt Corns earlier today telling me that Erica Hoffman is running or training with them at the store to participate in Formula Women. So let's talk with Erica Hoffman now. Erica Hoffman, Kyle Heyer from SimTV. Got a copy?
Going.
Hi, Erica. Well, I got a message from Matt Corns earlier today telling me a little bit about you and how you're training to participate in Formula Women, and the winner of that will receive a full season in England in a McLaren GT4. So tell us a little about yourself and where you're at and what you're doing, and tell us about this opportunity you could potentially get running in that series.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty remarkable opportunity that they're offering, and big thanks to Formula Women for wanting to promote more women within motorsport. I've been around motorsport for the last few years. I've been going out to the local tracks for lapping days and such. And I'm just starting to get back into it because I had a pretty substantial knee injury about 1.5 years ago, so I haven't really been practicing at all. But then this past month, I've been able to get back on the sim, been working here at Apex, so they've been training me, getting me up to speed again, and this was the first race I've done in a really long time, so it's a little rusty. But pretty excited on the progress and really excited to use the sim as a tool to get prepared to hopefully do well in the Formula Women competition.
And of course, here at iRacing, we have seen a lot of drivers that kind of utilize this as a training tool. One of my friends, Kenton Cook, is a competitor in the World Challenge Series and an Aston Martin GT4, and I know he uses iRacing a lot to practice and train, but we all know that there's quite a bit that changes from the sim world to the real world. So what are the major differences that you felt that this sim can offer you? Or I should say, what are the things that you've noticed translate the best here in the simulator to real world racing?
I think, well, there's a lot of aspects. I think the only real thing that I'm having that changes is just the fear aspect. But I think the braking, the turning input, just understanding how a car will handle has made such a big difference. Just spending the last few weeks on the sim has really helped my ability to handle a car, understand what it's doing. And I was at the track last weekend, able to get on track for the first time in a long time, and I was in such a better place because I had been able to have time on the sim. So really, there's a lot of avenues that transfer, and just really understanding of the car and how it's going to react to what you're doing.
Well, an understanding of the car is particularly important, especially when you're running in a multi-make series where the cars are quite different. Today you're running in the Porsche 911 RSR GTE car. Now, of course, this is a kind of mid-rear platform. Not a lot of weight over the front axle. We noticed it seemed like these Porsches are pretty tricky to slow down heading into Moss Corner. A lot of front brake lockup. So what are the things that you've done inside the car or with the setup to try to kind of eliminate that tendency to lock up those front tires heading into turn 5?
Well, as shown, I had a few issues locking up already today, so I think it's more just getting used to the brakes, and that you're just handling the car differently than how you'd handle other vehicles. We've had a lot of work done on the setup by the guys here at Apex, and I really appreciate all the work they've done. And as they've tuned it in, we've been able to get a better balance, so it's not so abrupt. You get a little bit more mercy when you're headed into a braking zone, that it's not going to lock up on you right away.
Well, it's of course it's a really cool series here, the Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. And Erica, a very strong run, at least on pace earlier in the day. And the best of luck to your team running 4th right now. We watch it from the sidelines. Thanks for chatting with us, and best of luck to you in your career, and best of luck to you in the training for that as well. And hopefully we'll see you there.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Erica. All right, so that is going to stop, Obi. Relax. Dog's going crazy now.
40, dog wants to go out.
Yeah, 43 minutes to go. He probably needs to go out. Gonna have to wait a little longer there, but with 47 seconds separating Adam Crane and Justin Benedetto.
Ooh, a battle going on between Nathan Block and Joe Ferguson for a position. Block almost threw it up the inside, trying to make a move happen down into turn 8. We're gonna have to sit back in behind that Ferrari.
Yeah, Nathan Block chasing in the 881. The 3rd and final Apex V2R car in this field right now. Matt Corrance, again in the 880, running in 3rd place. They got one of those cars up on the podium. I'm sure they'd like to get another one up there. They're going to have to get rid of Justin Benedetto or Adam Crane in order to do that, though, which is going to be a real challenge, given they've got 21-second gap to make up to even get up to Benedetto or Crane, nonetheless. So still a long way to go. 42 minutes left in this race. Crane still leads for VRS Satellite Racing Blue, and in the absence of Grid Life RWB Finning, it's pretty clear this team is on top.
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunate because it looked like SPI Racing was definitely giving them if not a run for their money, definitely mounting some pressure and not putting everything quite in the clear. But again, they had to come back down pit road for again unknown reasons to service that car. That really took them out of the running. Otherwise, they pretty much could have been up there with what happened to Crane, having his loop down in Mosport. That probably could have brought them back in together. But pretty easy drive awaiting Crane as long as he doesn't make another big mistake.
Nathan Block just got by Joe Ferguson here. Here's a look at how that just transpired here on the back straightaway. Popped out of line, took the run up the back straight, and kind of a classic pass here at Mosport up on driver's left.
They went way out wide to get it done, and textbook move right there for Block. So up inside the top 5 for all 3 Apex V2R cars, and 1 inside the top 3.
Yeah, strong run for them today after it looked a little shaky early in the going. Adam Crane dealing with a lap car. That is Tony Kloosterman in the Never Quit Racing Machine. These two had slight contact a little while ago, and Crane looped it, avoiding the 66 MC Motorsports car that Kloosterman is trying to chase.
Yeah, Crane's letting him on through so he can go chase down that 66 car. Is just a few corners ahead.
And you mentioned earlier, expected to have 3 or 4 cars in the lead lap, but we only have 3 at the moment. And Matt Corrance is not that far away from going a lap down himself, so we might only have 2 cars left on the lead lap by the tail end of this race. That is pretty amazing, at least for the performance for Adam Crane and VRS Satellite Racing Blue Daniel Morad on that team.
Yeah, a little bit less than I expected, but it's really just showing how much pace they have in that machine in comparison to the rest of the field, able to put majority of the field lap down. And if something happens to Benedetto, he has a chance of lapping every single car, because Benedetto is 50 seconds behind the leader.
Battles on the racetrack again have fizzled for now. With 40 minutes to go, still plenty of time to kind of spice those back up. And we should also mention no more pit stops required for the day. So we shouldn't see pit road be a very busy place from here on out to the end. Should also note RSC's C team, we haven't really mentioned, who replaced Salvatore. Matt Jensen is the one that jumped into that car, running 9th.
Yeah, obviously not an ideal game for this team, but been pretty decent recovery, considering they're out of the going pretty early. Put that car back up into 9th and potentially up into 8th as they're chasing down the Cookie Jar team. The 75 no longer salmon in the car. Obviously, Jason Roy now piloting that machine.
Again, they started this race dead last. They fought hard for the top 10. I don't think a top 5 is likely given how much work they still would have to do to get there, but I'd say a top 10, very likely given their pace. It's probably where they should be. They've avoided major collision a handful of times. Could argue whether it was self-inflicted or not. I will say one thing though, Justin Benedetto is reeling in Adam Crane. It's just not significantly quick enough to really get anywhere with it.
Yeah, this was the 6 hours of Mosport. I would say maybe has a shot, but with only 40 minutes left, I think time is going to be just a little bit too short for him.
Yeah, it's 3/10 quicker than Adam Crane right now. So he's basically making up a second every 3 laps, and with about 30 laps to go, it's only going to get him down about 10 seconds or so. That's not going to be enough. Need about 4 times that. But should that create extra pressure on Adam Crane, the opportunity is still there for Crane to make a big mistake and put themselves behind. Unlikely, though, given this team has been pretty mistake-free so far, other than what we saw a little while ago when the 66 looped, and even then it was sort of inflicted by another incident.
I really think, honestly, I think, as you mentioned, for Crane, it's not going to be a matter of if he makes a mistake. I think the worst thing for him is being caught in someone else's mistake when he's getting by some lap cars. I think that's really where the most of the concern remains at this point. Because otherwise, I think he's got it in the bag. He has next to no pressure and behind from the next car. This is a matter of he gets around the lap car, and if they end up making a mistake, and he gets caught up in the mess.
Battles that could be forming soon. Jason Roy, Matt Jensen. This is for 8th. Roy just ran a 1:15.7 compared to Jensen's 1:15.1. Only give it a few laps before we'd expect to see this pass happen.
Curious to see if that 75 is going to be fighting as hard as we saw it earlier.
Probably not.
Driver in.
Hey, Salmon got him to 8th, and he held him there aggressively. That's for sure. Checking back in on the weather to see how things have been progressing. Down to 94 degrees, which is about 15 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the start of the race. So it has dropped significantly. The pace has stayed the same or gotten a little bit quicker than it was. And the tire wear has not seemed significant in lap times, but I can assure you the cars are going to feel like junk on the older tire.
Yeah, these guys did. I think every single driver did come down and change tires.
Yeah,
so
so you're going to have to. The tires now kind of wear like stock car tires, which is not necessarily the most realistic thing ever. But
I mean, well, they are switching. Oh, no, sorry, the LMP2s are switching to Goodyears. So
yes.
I think, so that's accurate. Not with the Michelins, though.
Yeah, it's the tires will wear significantly. They're not going to lose a lot of pace. They're just going to lose a lot of drivability over the course of the run. Matt Jensen continues to reel in Jason Roy, now about a second between them.
The number 3 car around in Moss Corner was just able to get back rolling.
Jeff McKeag in the Event Matrix machine. Here's a look.
And went through the first part okay. The second part here, got on the curves and got some grass. Around he went.
Yeah, easy to do. This car is very wide. Easy to make a mistake like that. Lost him just a little bit of ground. He'll dust himself off and continue in 10th. Check back in on Justin DiBenedetto. This team, SPI Racing, think of how strong they started. And that pit stop situation, whatever happened there, has taken them effectively out. And remember, had they not had that second pit stop, Finney, they'd be right in the mix, and they're faster.
Yeah, actually, how much was their pit lane delta? Because I know you're able to see that.
Their second box was 51.6 in the pit lane, which is effectively the same as any other stops. They basically just double stopped, and I don't know why.
Yeah, so that means that would have put them technically 3 seconds up ahead of Crane at the moment. Yeah, I mean, you could argue that Crane's been running a little bit easier, but pretty much would have been right in the mix, at least under 5 seconds.
not the day that they were looking to have after a strong start leading 5 laps early. Here's Jason Roy, who's got Matt Jensen in behind. Matt Jensen again keeping that gap. Continuing to get smaller here. It's 1.3 as they close in on turn number 8.
Yeah, made up 0.6 of a second last lap through, and then come back to the line. That is going to be even more this time.
Adam Crane just on cruise control right now. Again, not a lot that he can do to screw this up unless he gets involved in a crash or has something catastrophic happen. And this is what you try to set yourself up for, right? I mean, you basically got everybody pinned a lap down and in a position where they're going to have to just run you down the old-fashioned way, but they just can't. It's just not mathematically possible without Crane running catastrophically slow, like he forgot which way the racetrack goes, or he gets in a crash, which with only 14 teams on the track is pretty unlikely.
Yeah, arguably he's his own worst enemy at the moment, or someone else is his own worst enemy if he gets in their mess. Those are really the only 2 remaining things he's going to have to deal with the last half an hour that he has to go. And just a matter if he can stay clear, it should be fairly easy for Crane, and arguably deserved it. Had a great job. His team did a great job in the early part. Got that car up in front, and Crane pretty much picking up where Moore left off.
Indeed, back up to Jensen, closing in now 0.7 of a second up to Jason Roy. Tell you what, this 75 car has been the center of attention for 3/4 of the race today. They have been in the middle of every decent battle for a while, getting run down most of the time, but they are tougher to pass than a kidney stone.
That's a good one.
Jensen gained a whole bunch that time through, 0.6 of a second through turns 2 and 3.
And see heading to Mosport, so see now how this is going to look this time by. We saw before both the drivers weren't able to get past one another, and now with 2 different drivers in each car, Jensen can work his way on by.
Remember how Salvatore got it done? He just sideswiped the 75 in turn 8. It was successful. It wasn't the cleanest thing ever, but he got it done. We'll see if Jensen has a different trick up his sleeve. There's the gap. You can see on screen about 15 car lengths, now down to 10. And no battle from behind them, no one chasing them down, so they can fully focus on each other for better or for worse.
Jensen's already took out a big chunk heading through turn 1. Great line through there.
A little bit of understeer there in Jensen's car, chasing it all the way to the edge of the track. We've seen Salvatore do that as well as the SBI racing car. They've run really close to the track edge at the exit of turn 3. I know that's where the track, the fast line is, but scarily close to the track edge. Porsches seem to kind of push there when you're on power. Not a lot of weight on the front, as we mentioned.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. You don't want the car, if you get in there just a little bit more than you think, you're going to be pushing yourself off the track at that point. There's always a fine line of balance. Here comes Jensen with a decent run on the Corvette up ahead of Roy. If it's enough to make a move, he's going to have a look around the outside.
Don't look now.
Side by side here.
And a car behind him, headlights flashing. Whoa, a touch. Oh, Roy into the barrier. And that's the second time today that group has had a tussle. Here's another look at it.
Yeah, there was no contact here, but it was just Roy trying to avoid the Porsches. He saw him coming close up on the left-hand side, and off to the barriers he went.
Yeah, not what they were looking for. He'll get back rolling, but back in 9th place, they'll lose the spot. So under half an hour to go, the final quarter of this race. Adam Crane leads Justin Benedetto by 46 seconds. Then it's the 3 Apex V2R cars, Matt Corrins, Marc-Andre Seguin, and Nathan Block to round out the rest of the top 5.
Walk around out of turn 2. And somehow keeps it off the wall.
I can't believe that he didn't hit something right there. That was pretty amazing. Here's another look at it. Oh, just tracked off a little bit and just maybe lost focus there for half a second. And into the grass, and thankfully didn't hit anything. But will drop down to 6th in the running order. Not what they needed, that's for sure.
They have a shot at getting back at Average Racing with Ferrari just up the road.
It's Joe Ferguson.
Right there.
Yeah, started 9th up to 5th. This is a good run for the Average J car. Running very well.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try their hardest to keep this top 5 at bay, or see if Block can try to get back at him here with 28 minutes remaining in the race. And actually, not to mention, Makina Dean is also encroaching in on this fight in 7th place. So it's potentially got a 3-way battle for 5th here building up.
Adam Crane leads the way again. And this team, this car, has been the dominant one today. 67 laps led of the 73 that we've completed. Continuously being the dominant car, not only this season, without Grid Life RWB factored in. And Justin Benedetto running in 2nd place, still a little ways back. I'm going to have to step away for 2 to 3 minutes here to take care of the woofie, because he is unbelievably upset with me right now. So we're going to do a little bit of a sound surge here from the front straightaway. We'll be back in a few moments. All right, back live. Finally took care of all that. Anything happen while I was gone?
Nothing too much, really.
Okay, great.
Looks like the 66 MC Motorsports car, Christopher Cook behind the wheel, is starting to close in on Jeff McCagg. That battle's brewing for 10th place, and Screeching Moose is closing in also on the 881 for 6th place. So this battle's starting to heat up.
Yeah, I just had to make sure that dog wasn't going to bark my face off because it was needing to go out and pee. And it wants to fight me because every time it goes outside, it's like, oh, we're going home. Because my boss lives down the street. Nope. No, we're not going home.
Nope, back in the house.
And it fights and just tugs at the... I never understand dogs that, like, they tug at the leash so much that they're choking themselves. I'm like, how is that comfortable at all? Stop. You go home when I say you get to go home. Jeff McCagg off in Moss Corner.
Oh, no.
Ooh, right back in front of, I think, was that a race leader?
Yes, it was.
Ooh, sketchy moment there. Adam Crane getting some flashbacks to a little while ago, and the same thing happened.
He can't see anything until right there, and could have been worse.
Yeah, lost a little bit of time slowing up for it, but nothing major. Meanwhile, for Average J Racing in 5th, they've got Nathan Block closing back in. Screeching Moose Motorsports not too far behind. This is a three-way battle shaping up for P5.
Yeah, they're all slowly getting closer. Now it's coming to a head here with 20 minutes left, so it's a decent amount of time for these guys to get something done. I have to see him for Joe Ferguson's going to be a long 20 minutes turned into all of not one but two cars.
Well, the 881 is definitely faster, but the consistency has not really been there for them today. And a couple mishaps on pit lane, and also with some of the strategy perspective, putting the wrong amount of fuel in the car, that is going to hurt as well.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how the whole driver team scenario is going to work, but I'll have to see about that after the race.
Yeah, 20 minutes to go. I think they're just trying to get this thing over with at this point, so they can't make any more mistakes. McKenna Dean going to keep him honest, though, from 7th of the Screeching Moose Motorsports car, also coming back from their own pit road mishap. And they started 4th, ran up as high as 3rd before dropping back to 8th, and now on an upward charge with Dean in command.
Yeah, I think it was running around 5th when they had decided to come down to fix that damage earlier in the run. So it looks like if they can get past both cars, should be cycling out to around where that car was running beforehand.
Well, Joe Ferguson ran really wide on the exit of Moss Corner. They'll leave him vulnerable up the back straightaway. Block in full slipstream now. It'll be hard to shake this 881, especially when he's lapping quicker on his own.
Yeah, I think he's got to channel his inner Daniel Salmonier and try to make that Ferrari as wide as possible to keep blocking behind, because that block is looking pretty quick in a lot of these tracks. A lot of these corners at this track, as a big cloud descends over the front part of the track.
Weather continues to get cooler, almost 20 degrees cooler than it was earlier. Oh, right out to the edge of the track. Block drops the tire off on the exit of the rumble strip. And under 20 minutes to go. Has that Ferrari in sight, but there's the Corvette behind that's right there as well.
That's a big thing, too. They can't afford to just completely lunge at the Ferrari that gets a little bit loose out of turn 3. And on the drag race down to turn 4, side by side for both these guys. Who's going to be braver down heading towards Moss Corner? Looks like Ferguson's going to back out.
McKenna Dean wants a piece of this. Going to go to the outside on entrance to 5. Going to be tucked in behind on exit and trying to do an over-under. Big dive up the inside, trying to get back by Nathan Block. That was an awkward moment. Here comes Dean.
And a 3-horse race down this straightaway. Everyone trying to get a run on one another. McKenna Dean trying to get a run on the porch. Are we going to do 3 wide?
Not going to try. I think Ferguson's fine tucked in there for now. Now he's going to pop out. Going to give it a go? No, not quite. Just a quick note that over Event Matrix. Whoa, touch!
Oh, no!
And Ferguson and McKenna Dean crash in turn number 8. They'll look from up above. Turns in, and Ferguson wasn't quite far enough to the right for that to work, and they just looped it. Good thing there's pavement there. They'll continue. Quick note, Event Matrix came on down to serve a drive-through for causing incidents, and the RSCC team still owes the pit officials a trip through pit lane. Or he might have already completed it.
I don't think they have. No, they're not. They've not come down anytime recently. So.
All right, well, they're due for one. Here's headlights flashing on Justin DiBenedetto, trying to put Joe Ferguson a second lap down. Still 45 seconds up to the VRS Satellite Racing blue car. And down to the final 15 or so laps this time through.
Yeah, really crunch time. Did I see there any other remaining fights that are brewing?
Ones that haven't occurred yet. Not on my immediate radar at the moment. But you just have to go back to the dominance for Adam Crane and Daniel Morad, again leading all but 5 of the laps so far and continuing to look that way. Without the Grid Life RWB team here that was comprised of DJ Alessandrini and Austin Cobb, Alessandrini and Cobb, both Americans, ineligible for the season prizing. But they were pretty much winning all the races. But throw away that kind of OP team, and all of a sudden you're left with the true champions of the series. That would be VRS Satellite Racing Blue. They have been so good this season with Adam Crane behind the wheel and swapping in a couple drivers in the secondary seat throughout the season, but they have hit on something with Morad and Crane paired together.
Yeah, really solid combination. Both great drivers, very quick, especially towards the end of the stints too. Both those drivers come alive and really put in some solid laps to really maximize the pace that they had. We didn't quite see that with Sanders. He kind of just kept the same pace going, while Morad was definitely able to turn his tires. And Crane too, he's not back down at all. I mean, sure, DiBenedetto's been closing in, but he's still putting a firm pace. He's kept that gap close to where it started. I think it was around 49 seconds when DiBenedetto came out of the pits originally after his second trip down, and it's still at around 46, 47 seconds.
And for SPI Racing, they have had a pretty decent day today, that's for sure. Third in the points, and the winners from back at Road America at the beginning of the season. They do have a win under their belt. Wins this season went to SPI Racing, then 2 for Grid Life RWB, then 1 for VRS Satellite Racing Blue back at Watkins Glen. And I'm sure SPI would like to join Grid Life RWB, being the only team to have won 2 races this season.
Yeah, it's also going to be a little bit bittersweet
too.
Because
Matt Corrins. Is this off in turn? This is turn 1 or turn 3?
I think turn 3. Yeah.
Oh, just drove off the edge of the racetrack.
Yeah, we're talking about those Porsches. They've been running very close to the edge of the track. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You know, if you enter the corner just a little bit too hot, you don't really quite know till the end. You gas up on the throttle, just a little bit too wide, around he goes.
He stalled it too, jumped on the brakes, and the car stalled when all the drive was killed out of the rear tires. But so easy to he knew it too. He jumped out of the throttle. It was just too late to stop the outward momentum, and kind of did a little tank slapper back then first into the wall, and no damage, should be able to continue. He's still third, but gave up a pretty big gap to Marc-Andre Seguin in the number 882 Apex V2R car.
Yeah, I think he should be a little bit, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Could have lost the position, but only really, just as you mentioned, just lost time, and was definitely not going to catch the SPI number 13 car. So he's going to continue on where he is, just to make sure that car doesn't get any more damage in the last 13 minutes and lose the place to the sister car, the 882.
So that only leaves 2 drivers on the lead lap. Adam Crane, the race leader, and Justin DiBenedetto. And to my knowledge, the only time this has ever happened on Sim TV, other than right now, is back at Rockingham in the 3-Wide Racing Series. Twice, I think that happened at Rockingham, and this is the first time ever I think we've ever seen this happen on a road course.
Yeah. Okay, did we have a race when someone lapped the entire field? I think we had one.
Yes, once. There was 2 instances in 3-Wide at Rockingham where they had everybody lapped except for one other guy, and one of those instances was he lapped everybody.
I I'm pretty sure it was Matt Grunberg, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
you are correct. Correctamundo. To do it at a road course is pretty impressive, although a 2-hour endurance race gives you some time to do it. But that just goes to show you the consistency of pace that Crane and Morad had this entire time. Now with next time by 10 laps to go, they're sitting pretty to continue and to go on and do just that. Need about 20 seconds to, or maybe make that 30 seconds to get Justin Benedetto, but I've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. We did see some guys run out of gas earlier on, quite unexpectedly, and you never know if Crane. You never quite know if they do ever fuel the car up all the way. So you never know. Last second mistake might show its head for Adam Crane in the last 12 minutes. And as mentioned, you never quite know until the checkered flag's out.
Christopher Cook for the MC Motorsports team. Remember, their race began with getting kind of punted off in turn number 5. They've recovered nicely, although they haven't really been able to do much with their recovery. They kind of got trapped a couple laps down, and since then have not been able to make any of that back.
Yeah, they're just about a corner or so ahead of the Neverclit Racing car, the 121 of Tony Klusterman. Right in behind. They're both fighting for a position here, but I'm not sure if Klusterman's going to have enough time to catch up to Cook. But he's getting a little bit closer each lap, so this could be a final battle brewing. Oh, as he got blocked off the track in Moss Corner.
Yeah, again, got again, same thing we've been seeing with the Porsches all day. That's a pretty big hit there too. Just car was, understeering into the corner. They get the brakes on it, and he actually, you know what I think, Finian, is we go back and look.
Yeah,
he might have caught the grass too on the left, but he did get loose for sure. Watch the left side tires here.
Yeah, I'm looking at his brakes. He was turning, got on the brakes
right there
as he was turning, and then forced the car into the grass. So
yeah. Then locks up here, the right front inside. Then locks up all 4, and then smash crash into the barrier, and block drops another spot. Matt Jensen in pit lane, serving. I guess that's that drive-through that they needed to serve. Will also come down for some service.
Yeah, I think this is you're going to put him in behind the 75. I think it's going to put him in 9th place, 10th place.
We'll make that 11th. Tony Klusterman just went by. LSM team also in pit lane and leaving the box now.
Oh, actually, Jensen actually came into Jensen actually, I don't think this is on purpose, because he actually spun out of the final corner lap prior, and then I think worked his way around.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Here's a look. Right here. Entering turn 10. Or exiting turn 10. Right here. Crash.
Oh.
That's a big hit. That might be it for RSCC team tonight with 9 minutes to go. Not much left to race for, dropping all the way to second to last. And there is Matt Corrins, who just unlapped himself, I believe.
Oh, yeah, no.
Slow lap for Adam Crane last time by.
Yeah, try to check and see what happened. Yeah, I guess Crane's just kind of backing out maybe a little bit more and more.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real rush. He's 44 seconds up the road with 8 minutes left. Have to do something pretty catastrophic to ruin his day here at this point. Matt Jensen officially drops to the tail of the field. Will be done for the day, at least in terms of positions. Akina Dean, Nathan Block. About a 5-second gap between those drivers. Screeching Moose Motorsports up inside the top 5. Now, wait a second.
Oh,
Matt Jensen's back rolling, and somehow is an 11th now?
Yeah, I guess he is. I think he's still on. He's still on the same lap. I think he's actually fighting with McCagg, who just passed him. Yeah, that was for position, and so is this Zuccarelli for overtake racing behind. This is for position, but I don't think that car is quite repaired. I think it's still missing. No, it is repaired.
He was scored last for a moment, and now is back up in 12th spot. Diego Zuccarelli right behind. But on fresh tires, that number 2 car should be able to pull away, at least on pace. So 7 minutes left, 7 laps to go for Adam Crane. Leads the way across the line. We have completed 90 laps, of which Adam Crane and Daniel Morad have led 84. SPI Racing has led 6 laps, 1 with the Benedetto, 5 with teammate. Gavin Sanders was the driver that started that car game. Christopher Cook off in Moss corner.
Horses have been really struggling down here.
Probably a similar thing. Got braked a little funky, lock up almost identical to what we just saw with Nathan Block a few laps ago. And again, you're right, the Porsches have really struggled. There's not a lot of weight over that front axle. And maybe the brake bias is to blame, maybe the setups are to blame.
Ooh, and it's also going for 11th place between the number 3 Event Matrix car and McCagg versus Jensen. And a little bit of a block down to turn 4 as well, so it's getting spicy between these guys.
Yeah, and Zuccarelli right behind is also for position. I think Jensen will be quicker than McCagg too, so this is going to be a battle in the last couple minutes of this for position, and it's a volatile one at that.
Oh, I see a Ferrari parked on the side of the road. That's Joe Ferguson. He's gone around in turn 3.
Yeah, Ferguson having an off as well. Here's a look at how that happened. Ooh, that was a weird one.
Yeah, he had a bobble on entry, and that just sent him by, and then just flipped the grass around. He went.
Whoa! McCagg all the way out to the edge of the curb. Jensen following in behind, all the way out to the curb again at the exit at 2. Fighting for every bit they can get back after a couple mishaps today and a penalty on top.
Yeah, it is really where Jensen's going to fancy a chance here. Is coming out of Moss corner, going to go a little bit wide on entry, try to get a nice exit. We see these BMWs just not quite able to stretch their legs as much as the Corvette, and even the Porsche already coming back on them.
Yeah, really strong run for Jensen at corner exit. Got up to the gears very efficiently. And he should clear McCagg by the time they get to turn number 8, and indeed he will. Move Jensen back into 11th. So for Adam Crane, 5 laps to go. As we come down through Moss Corner, I think almost every driver in this field has had an incident at one point or another today.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right with that.
Yeah, I don't see any driver that hasn't had an issue.
Either spinning out or having some reason to come down to the pits in extra time.
Or being the cause of a collision or something of the sort. Some lap traffic ahead for Adam Crane, Average J Racing. Joe Ferguson about to go a 2nd lap down. Matt Corrins was able to unlap himself and drive away, so we will not have only 2 drivers on the lead lap at the end. And for Crane and Morad, this kind of looked like an easy cruise. But also, I mean, just think about how strong SPI Racing was and how consistent Morad had to be in that entire first run. Had he not been that consistent, things might have looked a whole lot different. They fought tooth and nail for this, and they earned their kind of easy drive to the end here.
Yeah, and you can argue Crane had a fairly easy time, but I mean, he just kind of, it really just mattered not making a mistake, kept the car in one piece, and put in some pretty solid laps too, so he's definitely earned it as well, and Morad definitely put in some solid work that first stint as well, so great drive altogether for the 11 with 4 laps to go.
For Adam Crane, will be coming to 3 laps to go this time by.
Diego Zuccarelli had a bit of an off down into turn 2. Oh, he went flying off the track down there. Oh, that was a decent look.
There's a look. Oh, yeah, he went off early.
He carried a lot of speed. You cannot control the car at all at this point. Went flying into the tires.
Even scarier on board how quickly the wheel stops working. Here's a look.
Yeah, it was just a little bit offline at entry. You can see he's trying to turn it, and nothing he could really do. Car's still going straight.
Up the back straightaway now with 3 laps to go for everybody this time through. Adam Crane still the driver at the pointy end of the field, as he has been for the last 75 laps. 85 laps or so, actually. Matt Corrins for Apex V2R in the 880 will be the only driver to be on the podium today for that team. And a big thanks to Apex V2R. Again, a virtual reality and kind of sim racing focused experience center, let's say. And a handful of them. And of course, Apex V2R sponsoring the series alongside Shannonville Motorsport Park. So thanks for their support this season. Down the hill now for 2 laps to go for the race leader, and we're on again following Matt Corrins and Justin Benedetto in the new livery, the Kool-Aid Porsche, climbing the hill for the 3rd to last time here.
Yeah, I think still for these guys, even though it is in the win, I think it's still a very solid 2nd place finish. Did the best of what they could. Didn't really have it again, other than whatever brought them down to pit lane. They haven't had, I don't think, really had any other issues.
Car heading into the pits, that looks to be one of the BMWs. That's the overtake racing car, Diego Zuccarelli. As Benedetto hits 2 laps to go, that means that Adam Crane heads up the back straightaway, coming to the white flag, and in front of him is Matt Corrins, trying to stay on the lead lap. So after 120 minutes, sorry there, Finney, as we come out of the final corner, 3 seconds left, real close at the line, but this time through, white flag waves one more time at Mosport.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it was 3 seconds, you actually could have probably just backed it off and go ahead and call it a race there, but he's like, yeah, I can go one more lap.
It certainly could. But he's going to go the extra mile, or extra 2 miles, I should say, 2.5.
I wonder if he's purposely trying to see if he can get Corrins and put him another lap to put him a lap down. Looks like Corrins is actually putting the car very slowly.
Corrins might as well drop the position.
You know
here.
what? I wonder if he's close to being out of gas.
He could be. I also think you might just let him on by to finish the. I mean, either way, if he's almost out of gas, let the leader go. He'll finish the race this lap.
He might do it down the straightaway here.
He is definitely short shifting. And Adam Crane is following him. Oh, this is torture. Well,
I can see Corrins begging, please just pass me.
He's got 40 seconds to burn, so.
That's funny. It looks like what they do at Le Mans when they try to set up for the ending.
Yeah, can't do it though.
Really slowly.
Adam Crane, Daniel Morad for VRS Satellite Racing Blue. Out of the final corner, checkered flag waves. They're going to pick up the victory in the final round of the season for the Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Well done. In a strange fashion, they get it done. Justin Benedetto and Gavin Sanders for SPI Racing. They kicked things off with a strong run at the start and led 5 laps early. Then Benedetto led a lap. And since then, they've been fighting tooth and nail to gain any time back that they could. It wasn't enough to win, but it is going to be enough for a 2nd place run. And Justin Benedetto will bring SPI Racing home another podium this season. Well done, boys. P2.
Yeah, very solid drive for them. Did everything that they could do, so I think they should definitely be happy with that 2nd place finish.
Well, Matt Corrins will be 3rd, and because there's no other drivers on the lead lap, that race is complete. Here's a look at your race results here today from Mosport. VRS Satellite Racing Blue, Adam Crane brings the car to victory lane. Daniel Morad was the one that joins him on the top step of the podium. SPI Racing second, Apex V2R 880. Then it was Emmett Savage, as well as Marc-Andre Seguin and Erica Hoffman that ran the 882 car. They ended up coming home in 4th place. Then 5th, Screeching Moose Motorsports with Makina Dean in the 22. They bring that car back in 5th, and Apex V2R again 6th. Average J, NSS Cookie Jar, Never Quit, and MC round out the rest of your top 10. Last 4 teams fitting in tough day for these drivers here. But all things said and done, I got to give Never Quit Racing a big prop. They were way down early, came back, finished inside the top 10. Well done.
Again, just stuck to their motto, never quit, and put themselves up inside the top 10. So yeah, great job for them for just being persistent.
Well, in a few moments, we're going to talk to our race winners, as well as Justin Benedetto and Gavin Sanders, who came home in the 2nd place team. We'll talk to them in just a minute time. But Finian, final thoughts on the season. We've had 5 rounds. We started things off at Road America, then Sebring, the Nürburgring, Watkins Glen, and then Mosport. 5 of the world's best racetracks. Finishing off here in Canada, it feels very fitting. The champions officially should be VRS Satellite Racing Blue, and they're going to have the most entries into that raffle system for the chance to drive.
Yeah, I would say pending any post-race penalty, which I can't imagine there would be any coming to that team. I think I'm very confident saying that they got this championship locked up.
They're going to be in a pretty good spot. We're going to talk to Daniel Morad and Adam Crane. They both went to victory lane today. Daniel Morad was the driver that started things off. Adam Crane finished it off, guys. Good battle there in the first stint, but then when Adam got the car, it seemed like it was easy picking. Daniel, take us through your first stint, chasing down and getting by the SPI Racing machine.
Yeah, that was an awesome race. I mean, it was well, first of all, thanks to Adam for doing all the work. I mean, beforehand, you know, it looked relatively straightforward out there, but you know, he put in so much work doing the setup, and I just kind of show up, and you know, he puts me in the car, makes me look good. So big thanks to Adam for that, and the whole VRS Satellite team. But yeah, I mean, the quality, I was a little disappointed because I kept choking. There was something in my throat, and you know, couldn't put that lap together. I had a 12.8 theoretical, and it just lasted blowing it. So I was really pissed. But yeah, made up for it in the race, and just cranked out consistent competitive lap times. And again, can't thank Adam enough for a beautiful race set and his job at the end.
Well, it was an amazing run for you, Daniel. Adam, once you jumped in the race car, it seemed like things were sort of set for you. The SPI Racing team had to come back down pit lane. From there on out, about a 50-second lead, and then some games there at the end, but had plenty of time to burn.
Yeah, it was a great race. I can't thank enough Daniel Morad for driving with me this season, and for the job that he put in that first stint. Watching that racing between him and Gavin was just awesome. And then yeah, as far as strategy goes, it was us sort of battling with the SPA car, and once we saw that they didn't take any tires, then it was okay, well, we can't take tires too, because there's no point in us doing that. And once they boxed again, then it was sort of smooth sailing, because based on the tire percentage that we had, it looked like we could go the full stint without stopping again for tires, and it was just about managing. And yeah, the last little bit there at the end was fun, but for sure can't thank everyone at the league enough, and at SimTV, and for Morad for being a great teammate, and VRS Satellite Racing as well.
Well, congratulations to you guys on the victory today. Well earned, well done. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Talk now with our 2nd place finishers from SPI Racing. That's Gavin Sanders and Justin Benedetto. Guys, a strong run tonight. Not a victory, but pretty close to it. Gavin, you started this race off leading a handful of laps. Ended up kind of falling into 2nd place, but take us through your battles today, starting up from the pole and finishing in 2nd. Gavin, take us through your stint.
It was not so bad, honestly. I was not super confident with the car and just our overall pace, but we managed to qualify really well. And then obviously Dan just pulled out mega stint in the first bit of the race, and once he got past me, I was just kind of settling in and making sure we had enough fuel to get to the end and everything. But it ended up not going so badly, and 2nd place is definitely not something to be ashamed of in this series. There's a lot of talented guys, so.
Well, really strong run, Gavin, and for you, Justin, jumping in the race car, having to pit another time, but from there on out, it was just trying to run Adam Crane down the best you could, but couldn't make a huge dent in it, but a strong, consistent run from there on out. Take us through your end of the race.
No, my stint was a bit more on the quiet end, but I think we showed some pretty good pace, and I know the vets got a good bit of top speed, and they were the faster car today. But I mean, overall, it was a solid run, and just the pace wasn't there at the end.
Well, for you guys, a second place in the race in the championship, going to be a pretty solid run as well. Came into the night in third. Guys, congratulations on a strong run in the championship and in the race. Best of luck to you guys for the prizing, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Cheers,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, one more group to go with. That will be Emmett Savage and Matt Corrance for the Apex V2R 880 team. Guys, a strong run for you. Podium tonight, but an up and down night for a lot of drivers. Emmett, first take me through your stint in the first half of the race and battling amongst what was a pretty wild top 10 there.
Well, I struggled definitely in the beginning. The car didn't feel great, but our strategy was just a long game. Stick with the guys ahead of us, try and suck up some drafts, save some fuel, and hang in there. And the car really came alive at the end, but a couple mistakes got in there and kind of ruined it a bit for us, but that's okay.
Mac, once you jumped in the race car, there wasn't a whole lot left to do other than kind of finish out what had been started. Take us through your half of the race, and of course a couple mistakes there, but everybody had a few mistakes. What'd you need to go up there and run down the front to?
To be honest, I'm still a bit confused as to what went on. It was kind of just full send from the go, and we kind of had to save a little bit at the end, but it worked out in the end. Like you said, just bringing it home and finishing off the season on a high.
Yeah, looking back at the season, Road America, Sebring, Nürburgring, then Watkins Glen and Mosport, it seemed like this was one of the more challenging racetracks to pass at. We saw a lot of issues specifically with the Porsche platform, especially in turn number 5, guys. Was there struggle with front brake lock up there, and how did you guys try to negotiate that if you had it?
We actually had a lot of rear lockups, and then we bumped the ride height up a bit because we were starting to bottom out on the apex of the entry there. And it seemed to work out. Everyone had a few issues, but we got through it.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations. Podium in the race. Thanks for chatting. Best of luck to you in the prizing. We'll see you next time.
We're not eligible for the prizing.
Oh, man.
Actually, I'm sitting in one of the prizes, though.
Oh.
Kind of cool. Gave me one to use. And the other one is 3 feet to my right. Somebody's going to have a good time either getting the Racer Rig or the Scion FRS courtesy of Apex V2R.
Really, really cool. And then, of course, that will be randomly drawn tomorrow night. Guys, thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you next time at some point. Thanks for chatting.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Finney, time to wrap things up here for the Apex V2R Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Again, the drawing for the prizing will be on Facebook tomorrow night. Going to be an exciting time to see which driver chooses the rigs or the FRS driving experience. But what a season, what a race. Some great battles there, especially in the mid-pack.
Yeah, and especially towards the beginning of the race, these guys were in an absolute dogfight throughout the field. And just some fantastic action from Mosport. A lot of these guys getting down to business, pulling some great moves off. So some intense racing, and then also fantastic drive from the number 11 up in front, VRS Satellite Racing Blue. Did an excellent job to get the win.
Yeah, nice job for VRS Satellite Racing Blue. That's going to do it for the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series in 2021. Thanks again to Apex V2R and at Shannonville Motorsport Park. I'm Kyle Heyer with Finney and DeCuna. We'll see you next time here on Sim TV.